All right, we are live, or at least we should be.
Hello, hello. So today I wanted to go over some news. And also, I wanted to start on a project that's been on my mind for a while, where I think the Democrats don't have a strong sense of identity right now. I think this is pretty common knowledge. People don't really understand that problem or how to solve it. The best they can kind of do is point to other politicians and then scream and freak out about what they're doing well or what they're doing poorly. But party wide and pundit wide, they seem to fail to kind of understand where voters are at and why they would connect or not connect with any specific thing or idea or vision. And it's really frustrating. And when people feel not heard or not seen and not responded to, there's very little incentive to care and to buy in. And then even messages like protect democracy or protect any kind of system or institution falls flat because there's not really a perceived value or connection to that institution. We even see similar things where there's no brand equity there. Whereas on the right, the Republican Party used to have a brand equity of like economics and defense. That has gone away. Now it's more kind of fire and brimstone, wrath and revenge, which isn't good, but it's a thing. And Donald Trump personally brought a brand equity of like good at business, which he's not, but he's good at marketing. He spent a lifetime building that. So it's important to kind of have a response to that, because just saying affordability in a vacuum is kind of cringe and lands on deaf ears a lot, I find. So what I've pulled up, even like if I were to treat this like a company or a product, an idea, like there's so much more understanding of in an attention competitive economy and world. How do you create a vision, something people can grab onto? And how do you convey this idea of what you're actually about? Especially, there's not a lot of time. People are swiping fast. There's all kinds of options everywhere. And, like, there's no concrete grounding for what Democrats are. Even, like, Joe Biden era policies are massive infrastructure bills that are boring, like, piles of paper that take many, many years to roll out. Excuse me. And still won't be finished for, like, many years. And that's frustrating because even when there are good things, those accomplishments aren't materialized. People don't really know what they're grabbing onto. Whereas, like something like ice raids, for example, vile, but immediate and clear and communicable and understood. These are the weird kind of ideas. Like I'm thinking like in a designer, it's a kind of underrated angle by which to approach campaigns. Yes, and the Zoran campaign is a great example. Like, there are lots of reasons why Zoran Mamdani succeeded and failed, but he had this positivity and affordability message. But even other politicians who run on affordability, it's not resonated as clearly, as widely as Zoran. And part of that is because Zoran's campaign, through like all of its digital and print media, had a very clear, cunning vision that I would like to see replicated and expanded and used broader. Like he basically had a jumpstart for an affordability message. Like Zoran's campaign materials, which I'll look up and then pull in a source about. What makes it work is like not only is he saying affordability, all of his posters and signs and stuff and digital media branding looks like local near culture. Like it's like a taxi cab yellow. It's little signs like you'd see for like small grocery stores and bodegas, that kind of stuff. So it's connecting this vague idea of affordability into like the stuff and building those psychological heuristics all the time. And it started to kind of connect. Yeah, he spoke plainly about kitchen table issues, and, yeah, without like touching on any culture war stuff. I agree with that. Yeah. But lots of people even are speaking about that, and he managed to not only like use words but visuals as well. He was like smiling in videos, had this kind of like bright colorfulness to it. And I know this is like a very weird idea, and it seems kind of like petty and shallow and small. a lot of things are petty and shallow and small, especially to like white voters whose, especially white men, whose lives are not necessarily on the line immediately for any individual policy decision. Um, if you don't have like a strong personal identity and concrete rights on the line, I think it's harder to find a necessary identity with any political movement. And that's why they create their own. That's why I think there's appeal, especially for like lots of boring, otherwise perfectly safe white people, in religion, like churches and church iconography and like cross necklaces, and like the MAGA movement united itself very strongly through like merch and red hats, like this aesthetic, this like way to signal belonging. I mean, psychologically, everything I know about design, everything that massive companies pour tons of money into, is about creating this sense of like brand and image and story. And I think that's kind of why Donald Trump got a lot of momentum, is like he understood that and he showed up and he brought this like brand equity, that he's good at business and would run the country like a business. He has a lifetime of failed businesses, but a lifetime of successfully putting his name up in gold on a bunch of businesses and big buildings. And that like was enough to kind of convince and communicate an idea. And I think Democrats should have that. Just like last year, the Democratic Party did rebrand, but it doesn't quite make sense and it doesn't work. And I think now that like the Democrats see like, okay, affordability is the key word to rush into, Republicans are also realizing that and gonna rush for that. It's kind of a race to represent that the clearest and the widest, not just to people who are following the news every day and like listening to podcasts, but people who don't know anything about anything, like people who just don't look at the news at all. Like there are a lot of people who voted or didn't vote because they just casually thought the economy's bad, I'm going to flip the switch, and I assume Trump is good at business. Like that was like their understanding, and that was it. Yeah, and so like the Democrats are in a weird kind of no man's land where like there's a real like the people are saying here's the identity we want, and here's this concept we want, and then it's not being reciprocated. Yeah, like democratic socialists are not the answer for like every area. I think affordability is a good concept that looks different in different areas. In the Rust Belt, that means they want jobs. In cities, that means housing. Yeah, like America First, I think is a really appealing like phrase and concept that has not actually been utilized by the Republicans who brought that up as a campaign term very clearly. And this real kind of common sense thing. So I'm going to like stream about this topic for a few days, and we're going to pull in some weird sources. Like I'm going to not just look at other politicians and how they've ran their campaigns, but also like how do basic home good companies convince you like this is a solid, all-American, reliable, basic, everyday product that you like and is good. I think like, you know, we shouldn't just be looking to comparing and contrasting with the Biden campaign. We should look to the latest Superman movie, like or the Gap jeans commercial. Like there's so much built-in consumerism in our everyday lives that I see a lot of establishment people in power take for granted and don't connect with. Meanwhile, that's the level, that is the sub-political, sub-informational level on which Trump has lived his entire life. And we've seen that it works. Aside from massive plagues and economic crises, nothing has really beaten that mimetic information efficiency. Thoughts on the Dems capitulating to keep bureaucrats from quitting and being replaced by Trump? I don't know if that's necessarily the case that's happened. Like, there are some kind of establishment moderates who are cowardly. There are a couple ways to break that up if you don't want to keep compromising to moderates. One, you actually need more moderate Democrats. The problem with Joe Manchin a few years ago, who was like the only Democrat you could possibly win in a deep red area, but he won. And he was kind of like half the time a Democrat, half the time a Republican. That's still better than a Republican, who will agree with you 0% of the time. But because he was that only one to be that tiebreaker vote, he was the belle of the ball and had to be courted constantly. And the problem with that is he had a ton of bargaining power. You could say no. If Democrats, instead of just having like strong progressives in a limited pool, you need more numbers. If instead of just focusing on that, focus on getting more numbers, and you had like even 3 Joe Manchins, that reduces their bargaining power from 100% to 33% each. And then even if they have to be the rotating bad guy and compromise on their values sometimes, they only have to do that like 1 in 3 votes, and they kind of cycle throughout and get out of the cultural memory instead of every single vote. So it like increases that willingness, and then breaks the establishment moderate chokehold on things because there's competition. Meanwhile, then you can take like establishment leaders in deep blue areas, like someone in Chuck Schumer's seat, and primary them with a excuse me, like a democratic socialist type, who will be a stronger fighter voice for bigger ideas and stronger ideas and clearer ideas, who can be those messaging leaders and ideologues who are safe enough to do so. And then the kind of more passive milquetoast moderates will follow their lead, because they are kind of the sheep who are just going to like compromising to where they think they have to go. So if you then put like the stronger voices in those positions of power, they can kind of guide things better. Yeah, like everyday American history is the American affordability, misread a word, is kind of the way to go with that. So yeah, I mean, there's like a clear effort communicated in the Project 2025 and by Republicans since, in offices as well as like behind the scenes in the kind of puppet masters like the Heritage Foundation, that they're specifically trying to make bureaucrats' lives hell and like run them out of office so they can just like fire people or get them to quit so they don't have to do anything for them, and then they can just not rehire. It is rough. I have some friends who work in DC. It is hard. It's brutal. Like, it's bullying. Their jobs are being made worse, but they're super important jobs. We're already seeing an increase in like product recalls and like foodborne illnesses, in like outbreaks, because things are being regulated, things are being monitored. So first what I want to do is kind of go through like the Democrats.org website right now and kind of talk as a designer, like with my perspective on what I'm seeing and what this is telling me. And this is all feels like subtle, shallow, petty, like privileged middle class white bullshit. I own that, okay? But like, this is how communication works in today's information dense internet environment. And like, it's a little thing that makes a difference, but it all kind of adds up. And we need like a stronger, grounded, concrete vision to hold on to. Already I'm being told some different things. Like, having a beige top banner like this, I'm confused, because this beige doesn't match the white of the actual main page, and I couldn't find it anywhere else. It doesn't seem to be like necessarily in their like brand guides, the header and footer. I don't know what it's telling me. They're kind of more parchmenty beige colors. It's giving a more kind of classic old school feel. In some of my design projects, I really like to use more parchment colors because I make like physical print media and books, and I have this like classic kind of vintage, like Victorian style. But it doesn't feel very like fresh and bold and modern. It can if you go into a kind of nostalgia angle, but we're really not, because we're using that beige with like very bold, crisp, sans serif modern fonts. So this like kind of confuses me. Meanwhile, that's like a very kind of passive color, right? And so you'd want to match that. Like, see when you hover over these things up here in the top bar, you get this kind of faded blue. Like, that matches color palette wise. This orange is a little ugly and clashing, but we're seeing this kind of traditional, passive, faded, like comfortable energy that does not at all match this like big, bright blue, like very sharp, saturated blue D logo. Another point of confusion we will see a lot is like this clash between the D logo and like the donkey logo, and I really don't know what they mean by either of that. Another part, I know this is a bit odd, the D in their D logo is very like round, blocky font, which could have this kind of reliable trust traditionalist vibe, because it's very wide font, it's very squarish. I kind of like that. But then like they don't actually use that font anywhere else. Like, if you look at the D logo and then you look at the font they're using in the header, this is a more narrow, tall, sharp, modern font. It's not as like bold and wide set. So like we're getting some inconsistencies already, right? And I think a lot of this is going to be symbolic of other things we see in the Democratic Party and how we kind of understand it and how it communicates itself and presents itself everywhere. And even in cases where there's not like a strong spokesperson on a topic, even having things like signs and messaging like online like should have a presentable, consistent look. Donald Trump is really good at this. The White House website is very good at this. This kind of traditionalist, like dark blue, this like bold statement, and there's just no message or theme to rival that. And there should be. So then we go down to like there's people excited and crowds are getting this excitement, with this like vibrant excitement. That's a cool angle, but that's undercut by these kind of like soft, gentle beiges, this like serious font. We're not getting that energy. Like it seems like they want to show a young, energetic target audience. That it's very white. If you notice, like they're targeting the middle class specifically. Look at these people and how they're dressed. These are not like blue collar workers with their sleeves rolled up. But yeah, it's very social messaging. America's need teachers. I think they might say vote on the shirt on the left. We're front loading with like very white people. Then there's some black people towards the end, which shows their priorities, right? Like reading order, how you scan a page left to right. I know these are little things, but this is the language of design. This is how we communicate things. And so like I don't know. This is the stuff that like really kind of bothers me. There's this whole subpolitical like layer of feelings and implicit communication all throughout, and Democrats aren't playing it. Hi, Hannah Banana. I'm talking about like the issues with the Democratic brand image, and how they can kind of fix it. So I have a design background, so I'm kind of even going through like their website and stuff as an example, and a bit of a proof of concept. So I know this is like really weird and like atypical, but this is like, I think part of Donald Trump's unique like strength power level is like he's the one who notices this kind of stuff because he's like a marketing person. Yeah, like Zoran is great, and like why Zoran worked. I don't see a lot of people going into depth on that. There's lots of like boomer takes, and a lot of it is just literally like, graphic design and communication. Like Republicans have successfully gotten rid of this old 2000s idea of like the kind of starchy old warhawks of the Bush era and like the dusty evangelicals, like something like rich grandparents would be into, and have like rebranded it with this Trump-inspired image of like bold strength, whereas Democrats haven't. So then we get to the main page. We're seeing here this font they're using a lot in like headers and stuff. We are the Democratic Party. We're seeing the same bold blue from up here. We're seeing like stark black and white. This is a more modern, poppy, harsh, bold, strong color, right? But then we get to this body font, which is like, this is a nice serif font, I think. It's it's a serif font. It has little like sticks on the kinds of ends, like on the Q. It's not a straight line going down. There's a little end cap on it. Lots of those end caps, they're serif fonts, and if they don't, they're sans serif. They're without those. So it's a more traditional view again, but it's also a wider font, and it's a more kind of rounded font and a gentler font. And it has this kind of a little more hand-drawn traditional flair to it over here. And I think that's a little, I don't know. It doesn't match. These don't match at all. These are not like compatible fonts. It's not like a good way to do it. We're seeing this like difference in like width, in boldness, in color. I guess you want your header fonts to stand out, but it's not consistent. Especially up to here, right, where you get this all cap bold. This is not that also. This might be the same font width, or it might even be more condensed. Now we're getting this like not all caps. It's more friendly. Up here, it's like this bold impact, right? So we have this top header bar does not match these pictures, does not match this, does not match this. Does this seem symbolic to any of you of like the Democratic Party as a whole? It's not like compatible. It's one of it's a big tent of like different types of people and influences all coming together. But this does not feel like it's coming together. This feels like people who are looking at pieces in a vacuum and designing for things in a vacuum, and then they lost sight of the bigger picture, and they failed to even consider building any stronger, clear, communicated narrative. So in a way, this is apt branding for where the Democrat Party is right now. Yeah, like in 2008, the Democrats had a strong brand and image, especially pushing back against Bush. It was very like anti-war, pro-healthcare, this Obama hope change. And what I feel like Democrats and people keep trying to expect Democrats is to really just sit around and wait on their butts for one person to rise up with a tyrant like confidence of like, I'm just going to come in and single-handedly grab America and the party and bend them to my will, and then have this new glorious vision all single-handedly, where it's like they're a policy person, they're not necessarily the branding person, not necessarily the messaging person, they're not necessarily the writer. And it's a weird bar to clear. Mamdani kind of did it, but what are the odds of that? Why are we waiting for that? So I know I'm taking a very weird angle at this, but this is kind of where I'm at. Like, where you don't have a brand or message of the party that politicians can then put a spin on or add on to. We're just waiting for individual people to come and then just have to use this like negative coded word, Democrat or liberal, and then somehow make that work in spite of the brand. Like, Democrat is a negative thing. There are studies done where if you have a candidate and you don't have a party name by them, you say, like, here's just the candidate's name, here's the other policies we're throwing on, they're popular. As soon as you say they're Democrat, their support goes down. So instead of like being like a brand, like, yes, I want to run as a Democrat because I can sign on to that. And it's good to have infrastructural support and resources. It's not helping. So like, there's a real point there. I think individually on policies, Democrats have better policies to make the country a better place. If you look at like who's increasing the deficit, it's Republicans. Look at who's causing social harm, it's Republicans. Democrats, I'm not a fan of many establishment Democrats at all, but to me, that's the power structure here for the taking, here for the redesigning by younger generations, and that must be used in opposition to the cult-controlled Republican Party. Especially now, as the Republican Party is rudderless and on the cusp of breaking out into an institutionalist, techno-feudalist theocracy party, or an ethno-nationalist populist party, both of which are upsetting. So that's why we're getting into all this. So yeah, we already have, okay, we're reverting to sans serif. Then we have back to serif. Here we have a different body font than up here, which is interesting. We're back to the sans serif, but this is a different font altogether. It's wider and more standard than this squished version. These might be the same font, but this is like a more squished version. Then we have their merch. We'll go to their merch. At the bottom here, we see this again. Right, we're back to this original styling, which is like bold, black, squarish font. This is like satisfying. This is like crisp, modern design. But still, it's different. Nothing's adding up. And over here, interesting, in the bottom, information about the DNC, we're back to the serif font, but it's a squished vertical, like condensed version, like tall and narrow, like we're seeing in this font. So they're just like messing with all these ideas willy-nilly. And it's kind of embarrassing. And we'll look at their shop too with their merch, because we'll see something as well. There are two different logos for the Democratic Party right now. There's the donkey and there's the D. Both can fit in like a round, like squarish, like logo shape and box. They use the donkey on social media. It's kind of cute. They redid it, so it looks more like geometric and modern and condensed and simplified. And then there's the D. And these are two very different concepts. Like, they use the same colors, at least, so they're a little more compatible. But it's still unclear, like, what... People could maybe buy into what the Democratic Party is, but it's not telling you what it is. It's also sad, too, they just have, like, a lot of merch that's like, I'm one of the 75 million Americans against Trump. This shirt is advertising one person specifically, and it's not a Democrat. Like, it's bad. They have a single sign here. They have, like, you can donate to them. So they keep going back and forth between these different styles. They have a Trump sticker, I did that, which, again, they're selling Trump merch. Let's move this over so you can see it on the TikTok stream. Yeah, like, it's this, I did that, the stickers, so it's Donald Trump. It's also not a bad picture of Donald Trump. It looks like it's like a confident thing. He's looking, like, up and horizontal in a way. It's directional. It's like, this is not how you make fun of your enemies. This looks promotional. Like, if you clipped off the I did that, like, I don't know, this could backfire. Like, this is not strong messaging to help any kind of cause. Even the font there, the I did that, it's like, I think their normal one, but it's the only use of italics that I've ever seen of it. This good trouble thing, so yeah, like, that's like, oh, I forget, yeah, John Lewis. That's like another thing entirely, and like, has John Lewis been centered into any messaging? I don't know enough about John Lewis. Yeah. Congressman John Lewis was one of the great champions of American civil rights. He was well known for his activism in the civil rights movement, particularly as chairman of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee and a leader of the 1965 March from Selma to Montgomery. And in the over 3 decades he served as a Democratic U.S. representative, he became known as the conscience of Congress. Celebrate Congressman Lewis's legacy in the Democratic Party and support the next generation of trailblazing Democrats with this long-sleeve tee inspired by his legendary call to get in good trouble, necessary trouble, and redeem the soul of America. Okay, here's my problem with this. Like, there's a few problems with this. First of all, why is the body text blue? That is so hard to read. We're also switching back into, like, the traditional serif font again, which doesn't make sense. The shirt itself is $38. I get some of it donated to the campaigns, but it's, you know, it's privilege. This is, like, privilege kind of thing. Whereas, like, I think a lot of Trump merch, yeah, they're making money, but there's, like, a movement to specifically they're producing and distributing merch for Trump, and always have, as a means of marketing materials and promotion and trying to get stuff out, right? This is just kind of like fan merch, which is fine. That's fine in its own right. But also, do you know who John Lewis is? His message is cool. Cool guy. Do you know who that is? Has that been centered as an inspiration for the Democratic Party? Publicly? Are we uniting around the concept? As a leader, as an inspiration? Because I've never heard about this. Like, this is not... If this is the idea they want to get out, cool. There's lots of cool ideas to get out. Lots of ways to define, like, this party as, like, a brand based on elements that have historically been a part of it. People that have historically been a part of it. Ideas that have historically been a part of it. And what is he known for? Like, what are they describing he's known for? American civil rights, awesome. Also pushing a racial diversity angle. Is that front and center in the party's message right now? It should be, but I'm not sure that it is currently. Civil rights movement, yeah. Chairman of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. The 1965 March from Selma to Montgomery. Is nonviolent coordinating the front and center message of the Democratic Party right now? Is that the inspiration and, like, the idea they're rallying people towards clearly? I've never heard that signified. There are protests like No Kings, but the Democratic Party was not behind them, right? It was not leading the way on that. So, like, we keep seeing the same kind of, like, conceptual failing to define and to understand. Here we have, finally, like, one T with, like, the donkey on it, but also, like, a U.S. flag. And I'm trying to see... There's not even, like, a good way to zoom in on this picture, which might be an accessibility issue, by the way. Are the stars... Yeah, the stars are red, white, and blue on this. So now we're getting the red, white, and blue back, and the patriotism. But red is otherwise missing on their merch and on their branding of the donkey and everything. It's just blue and white. And, like, some beige. I don't agree with the beige. I think they can pick with white or beige and go for a nostalgia look or, like, a bright and clear look. But you have to pick. Yeah, nobody's wearing... Yeah, the flag is tainted currently. Yeah, that's fine. If that is, like, then distance, you know? If it's not, go for it. Lean in. Like, but you have to pick a lane, make a confident message, and go with it. And this is what happened in the shutdown, too. If they did want to do a shutdown, or they didn't want to do a shutdown, scenarios for both, commit. But all the arguments for ending the shutdown when they did were not arguments for ending the shutdown when they did. They were arguments for never having one in the first place. And so if they did need to end it and accept they wouldn't win the ACA subsidies, there at least needed to be a consistent, strong, ready-to-go messaging exit plan. And there wasn't. Like, this is a party that's failed to communicate and then wonders why people don't just support them anyway. And it's like they're kind of just lazily putting this burden onto each individual supporter and voter to make up a reason to, like, explain or justify or support this all on their own without making a clear pitch or a sale to them, which is hard and it's embarrassing. And that's why it's unpopular, because you're making it harder. You're making it like a bigger social, mental, emotional lift to understand what you are and why you should be supported. You know, like, it's not an in-your-face, clear, like, brand idea. And here we're seeing, like, more patriotism, USA. I think that's the same blue. It might not be the same blue. Here we're seeing a red, seeing, like, Democrats, USA. It's putting Democrats in front of USA, which is risky. It's not a great message or theme. It could be seen as disrespectful to the USA because you're covering USA, putting your party first, party before country, like party over country. Not smart, savvy design. It's just not. All these stars, too. It's a little, like, out of touch graphically, stylistically. We're also seeing, again, a same combination of their fonts. But no, these are different fonts. The back font where it says USA, that's the same font they're using, but it's curved here, where it's straight and flat, and, like, flat printed graphic design on everything else. But then this, like, Democrats font in front is, like, a cursive font, and it's an italics font. Yeah, patriotism needs a break. Yeah, like it's like, what is their brand? What is their theme? Um, Ooh, this is really pretty down here. I actually like this a lot. This like light blue and this dark blue and then this red and then this white, which might be the beige. It's hard to tell. I think it is the beige. This is pretty, but this is an entirely different color set than we've seen everywhere else. Again, they have a big color palette, but like the red has finally emerged. But then this section down here, we're using like this light blue, gray, muddy purple background, which doesn't hit as strong. And are we going for like bold or soft? Are we going for this kind of strong fighter energy, or this like nice passive inclusive messaging? There are lots of different lanes to pick, but pick one and commit so people can start to get the idea out and rally around it. Like with the shutdown, it was 40 days through which this idea was slowly starting to percolate through society of Democrats in this party who are of fighters, right? And that's the brand people are calling for. Like, what do you do with people who fight? And people are finally starting to get that and rally behind that. Like, you know, the election helped. Not need to like, yeah, we're fighting, we're taking them like this kind of revenge, anger, like push, push, push for the common people, push, 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 and then to just fold in the shutdown with nothing. It didn't just not get the ACS subsidies, and the fight was not just about that. They all keep talking about it as if that's what it was about. But it's also about getting this vibe and brand and buy-in and cultural understanding of who's on what side and what they're fighting for and why ahead of the midterms. And that just deflated that and stopped that whole fight cold. So that's, you know, the kind of problem we face. Here now we're seeing like a same mix of fonts. The bold, narrow font. Here you can't even highlight the text, which is weird. It's trying to click and drag. Then you got like the rounded serify one. Then you have the italics version. It's all over the place. And again, these fonts don't match together. Okay, we're going to go back. And then I also want to read... Aha, here we are. Who we are. Who is the Democratic Party? In their own words. Okay, we're opening with a big splash header image of patriotism. USA. Harris Walls. So this is not about party imagery first. This is about patriotism first. This is about, like, country first. Who we are. The Democratic National Committee is committed to electing Democrats everywhere, from the school board to the Oval Office. We're mobilizing voters across the country. This is a terrible opening. What are the themes of this? This tells us nothing descriptive or emotional. Also, this is just describing the Democratic National Committee and not the Democratic Party. And this is just Democrats.org. And there's nothing specifying Democratic National Committee, like anywhere in the header or anything before this. So it's like, oh, isn't the party website? Like, what is this about? They're just, the DNC is just the vehicle that elects Democrats. It's not defined what a Democrat is or why I should care. Again, we're seeing this like presumed you understand or care, and not anything to actually define or pitch by it. Then we're getting an external link to what we do and about the Democratic Party, which is not here. It's like, it's not here. It's not just showing me. It's making me like do work to dig deeper and find it. Very consistent themes with the Democratic Party. It's not telling me what they are, why I should care. And then their leadership. Okay, so it's about the people again. It's not about any message or concept. It's just about people. The DNC's officers under the leadership of Chair Ken Martin, I guess he's important because that's the only descriptive piece of information they've told us in this entire page, come from every walk of life. Okay, so it could be like a multiracial, multi-class type group, right? Like every walk of life. So rich people, poor people, people from here, people from there. And represent all that is best about the Democratic Party. What is that? They're talking about what is best about the Democratic Party. They represent all that's best about the Democratic Party, but they have not at any point told me what that is. Learn more about the team doing this work, because when we organize everywhere, we can win anywhere. But why would you win? Why would I care? You haven't told me. This is a huge, huge, huge problem. So here, we're looking for passionate, talented Democrats to join our team and turn this country blue. Come join our team. This is a call to action, but they've still not given me any reason to care. Why would I run as a Democrat? What is a Democrat? They've not defined that. I clicked who we are, and it's not told me who they are. It's just told me Democrats are Democrats. Do you see how it's kind of like heartbreaking? It feels like shallow and empty and missing something. But fine. There's what we do and about the Democratic Party. Is who we are not about the Democratic Party? Let's try that first. That's not our highest priority thing they want us to click on. That is what we're going to click on next. Our party. Since 1848, the Democratic National Committee has been the heart of the Democratic Party, the oldest continuing political party in the United States. If that's their opening message, that's still not giving me any definition or reason to care. It's just telling me the Democratic Party is a political party, and also it's old. Old, and like this classic traditionalism, I guess, is their go-to word here. There have been party realignments, though. You don't necessarily get positive value from invoking the old original historical era of the Democratic Party. That's not necessarily a selling point. You don't want to mention that. It doesn't help you. It's not something good to describe. Like this, it's just weird. But still, we haven't learned anything about them, just that the fact that they're old. If they're old, if they want to lean into that like traditional, like we are American history kind of thing, which you could do, you could put some brand on, like we know America better than anybody because we've been doing it the longest. That's an appeal, that's a pitch. But that's not what they're showing here. And if they wanted to do that, they would lean in. They would have a very traditionalist looking website. Like the White House website has like fancy traditional, like tall white letters with like serifs in the end that look like marble pillars, which fits the kind of vibe of the Democratic Party that you would I'm sorry, of the White House, like this officialness in like all caps. This isn't doing that. So it's like, yeah, we're young and fresh and cool, and then also, by the way, we're old. Today we are millions of supporters strong, so there's a lot of them, but what are they? Leading with our values. What values? I've been actively looking on their website, and I haven't seen their values. Fighting for progress. What is progress? And helping elect Democrats in every state, city, and zip code. What is a Democrat? Why would I help elect them? From local offices to the Oval Office. Okay, but who are they? Our party's strength lies in advancing our democratic platform and forging positive solutions that include everyone. This is, now they're finally referencing the platform, but again, it's an external link. I have to dig deeper. They're not telling me what it is. Yeah, this is like way more interesting than I thought it would be going into this. Like we're seeing how vague posting they are about everything. Yes. That positive solutions that include everyone. Okay, positive solutions is a worthless phrase. Would you have a negative solution? If it's a negative solution, it's not a solution. I don't know what positive is doing here. It's just, how about instead of forging positive solutions that include everyone, including everyone is something. It's like, okay, diversity is a value here. Instead of forging positive solutions that include everyone, how about solving problems for everybody? Solving problems for all of us. Solving problems for Americans. Solving problems for average Americans. Solving problems for all Americans. Solving problems for working Americans. Solving problems for average Americans. We're getting nothing here. We're getting nothing. Yes, girl, give us nothing. So we're going to open now their platform in another tab and have to read through what I am hoping is not just like 100-page long PDF, but we'll see. As Democrats, we believe every person in this nation deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. Why are you burying the lead here? That should be the header. Dignity and respect are still kind of... I don't like dignity and respect because they're not material. There's still this like virtue, this like theoretical kind of thing where you'd want to be middle class and educated and stable. It's a higher on the Maslow's hierarchy of needs kind of thing. To imagine these broad concepts and values. Like saying you're for freedom or liberty or equality. These are like big ideas that aren't necessarily accessible to everyone. Because they're not the immediate priority. So it's not the best message, but dignity and respect, you can get a lot of positive goodwill if you're like, we're the people who are about dignity and respect. But they buried that this far in. Also, every person in this nation. So there's like vague idea of inclusion and dignity and respect. So it's for everybody. But how? How is it for everybody? What are they doing for everybody? What are they doing for anybody? They still haven't told us. Here we go. We believe that healthcare is a right for all, and that the hard work of middle-class families should be rewarded. I really think this is like definition. This helps. Healthcare for all. That's cool. I like that. That's concrete. but that hard work of middle class families should be rewarded. I like rewarding hard work. I think that is compatible with like American virtues that are deep baked into our society. But why just middle class families? Doesn't that feel like if you're like a working class person, you know, you're kind of poor, they're specifically being like, not you, and they're passing over you, and then like laser targeting just like one slice out of the middle of America? That's weird, right? They say it's for everybody, and they're like, but only the people in the middle. It feels like disrespectful messaging, and it blows my mind, and it feels like it just backfires all the time. We believe our schools and streets should be free from gun violence. Very concrete position to lead on. I know Democrats lead on like trying to regulate gun crime, but that's also controversial because people just have different opinions about guns as a whole. So now it's like now we're alienating people. We're helping people and also alienating other people, even though like they opened with we are about respecting everyone. Now they've taken a hard stand that crosses out a lot of people. Middle class cut out a lot of people, and that a woman's decisions about her own body are hers to make. See, I support abortion rights. I think they're just objectively necessary and good in a society. But this is weird. Like, this is a weird thing to put here. The way they put this. Because it's descriptive. It feels like a hot take. This is just how we would frame and talk about this issue, but it's not how everyone would talk about or consider this issue. It's not, and this is a valid decision to make. It's not taking that time to accept other people's views and meet them where they're at and then talk to everybody. This is how we talk about it and deal with it. It's a very bold, specific stance, which undercuts their dignity and respect for, like, you know, for everyone and all people's views. We only care about like this one perspective, and they're defining that, I think, more specifically than anything else on this page, which is a problem. But like, you could say, you know, like, we respect, right? Go back to this respect, a woman's decisions about her own body. They could tie that back into that respect theme of like, oh, why we draw that conclusion on this issue because of our virtues, but they're not. They're not connecting that core concept, dignity and respect, to each of the specific issues. So dignity and respect just feels like talk. It's not echoing through their policies. I'm not sure how much Donald Trump actually said affordability specifically, but all of his policies and ideas and messages were specific material things that echoed a theme of affordability. So that flowed through from like the big central idea into each of the implementations. Here, we're seeing a big central idea, I guess, dignity and respect are like for everyone. And then we're seeing just a bunch of policies that are good, but they're not related to that at all. So it's not resonating. Nothing is resonating. The Democratic Party strategy as a whole, frankly, is like just get a college degree. And then hopefully at college, between learning stuff in your humanities classes and through meeting different types of people from college and having the time and freedom to mentally and emotionally think about and learn about and consider bigger ideas and virtues and be curious and research subjects, that you will figure out why Democrats are right about stuff. But they expect you to go off and do that work on your own. Like, especially I've seen like trans issues become so like demonized in the last election cycle by Republicans. Democrats did not clearly stand up for and explain or define these topics. It was just like this, I don't know, skill issue. You should learn about trans people, and shame on you if you haven't already. Which leaves trans people out to dry. Like, that's awful. We can keep repeating diversity is our strength, but that's just a buzz phrase. That's not actually proven. That's just, here's what we believe. We're not going to explain why. We're not going to convince anyone of that. It feels like a thought-terminating cliche. When you could bring up, like, hey, diversity is good for business. That is provable in the facts. Why are we limiting our job hiring pools? Lots of people have good ideas, and everyone deserves a chance. Everyone deserves a chance has way more broader appeal. At the DNC, we're working together to build a bright future for everyone. Okay, but you just told them that healthcare is good, but healthcare is a right for all. Doesn't mean you necessarily like get healthcare. They haven't really defined that or how or what that looks like. Is it expensive? It could still be expensive. You've just told lower class people to go screw themselves. You've just told gun owners to go screw themselves. You've just told like pearl clutching, morally concerned people who don't like abortion to go screw themselves without like extending a hand or an explanation to any of them. And then you're saying we're building a bright future for everyone. If I was not already on board and I read through this, I don't trust or believe this. And I think to younger generations specifically, trust is like the golden currency. Um, that is why young people, like especially who are terminally online and used to social media and used to all this messaging and noise all the time, people can say anything. It is worse to be a grifter than to be evil. People would rather vote for the evil they know is authentic than vote for something good that they think is fake. Like hypocrisy is worse than evil. Those kinds of things. Like if you feel like a sellout, then you'll lose lots of support. Trust is the thing to build up. Consistent messaging and then stand by it. This feels like they don't really care. They're saying things that they haven't even thought to enforce or represent through everything else they're saying. We are fighting for the soul of our country, the heart of our democracy, and America's place as a land of opportunity for all. They have not opportunity for all, or is it hardworking middle class families who can afford the healthcare you want to give them access to, but they're still going to have to pay for? Opportunity for all, but what about like my opportunity to go, I don't know, hunt animals with a weapon? Trust can come from everywhere, but trust comes usually from like putting forward an idea or a message or a promise and then proving to people you will stand by it and you will follow through. And Democrats are really bad about that. Like Democrats are not clear about you need to make a claim and then enforce it, do it.
Someone's at the front door doorbell.
Oop, I'm going to go inside the door. One moment, please. Hello. Back, sorry. Sorry about that. So like fighting for the soul of our country. This is a moralistic argument. You could build a strong brand about fighting for the soul of your country in the context of like I could see a powerful resonating message I could get behind if this was at the end of like a bombastic preacher giving a talk for an hour, like a sermon or something, setting up the stakes of this moral good versus moral evil and like framing what that battle is and why it's important. And then we're fighting for the soul of our country, right? But you have to sell people first on what the fight is, what the soul of the country is, and why that matters, and connect it to things downstream. But overall, this is showing me a party about big, like abstract theoretical ideas and values that aren't even enforced in their own policy prescriptions. The heart of our democracy. Young people especially rejected this campaign messaging. The reason for that is, in the same way that on the right, they fearmonger about socialism being evil and fail, the same way they presume socialism is some evil, scary thing, Democrats are presuming democracy is some good, worthwhile protecting thing. Neither side has failed to consider the perspective of young people who don't have a clear definition for what either of those look like or proof that they work for good or for bad, and why they're therefore worth enacting or not doing. Yeah, like fascists can dog whistle easily about soul of the country because they've like laid the discussion groundwork for that. Democrats haven't at all, so it's weird. And might be bowing to that kind of messaging. We're going to fight against that message, but you haven't put forward your own message. And I'm sorry, just being not Republicans is not a worthwhile brand. So, like, the heart of our democracy, young people especially feel burned when young people brought up very consistently, like, what's happening in Gaza, that's a genocide. That's messed up. We can't support that. And then to feel like young people, especially with Kamala Harris kind of being just handed the mantle as a candidate, there was no opportunity to have a democratic say in this core issue. There was no institutional respect or acknowledgement of that position. So it's like you're bragging about democracy, but you're not giving the people a say and a voice. We don't have a say and a voice anyway, which didn't work. Those ideas bounce off each other. Like, is this really democratic? It doesn't really matter. And a problem we're seeing among both parties for younger voters is if you say you're going to do one thing and make the country better and make your life better, but you never actually see any results of that, you start to realize, like, government doesn't matter. It's never going to be responsive. It's never going to do anything. So I'm going to lower my sights. Instead of I'm voting to build an American dream to, like, whatever. I can't actually get anything really good or help my life out of this. But at the very least, I can take something away from other people. I can hurt other people. There's no belief that government is good enough to help. But, like, you can still make your opponents' lives miserable. You can make minorities' lives miserable. We're going to burn it all down. And it's like this new kind of alt-right populism we're seeing is very much on that. Like, it's nihilistic. They will say they care about things like religion, but they don't. They don't actually have policy plans. They will have policies to, like, hurt groups of people and strip rights from groups of people. They don't have an end game after that. They don't have any path or consideration or faith even that they could even build a better world. They don't believe in that anymore. And that's scary. So, like, this, oh, you just have to believe in these values and these systems and then it'll be good. But these are not systems that anyone has any long-term trust or belief in anyway. So the Democratic Party is trying to take some brand equity from this idea of democracy, which gives them no benefits among younger people because it's just not shown. And in fact, when that contrasts against the reality, it reduces trust. And America's place as a land of opportunity for all. For all. For all, right? Hard work of middle-class families. So if you are a single person, you don't have a family, and you say have a disability and you can't work, what do you do? What are your opportunities? I would hope for all too, but that's what they're doing. Hi, what do? I'm a designer. So I'm going through kind of like the web design and the messaging and trying to, like, approach politics like a designer. Here's my favorite part. I skimmed this earlier, and it's stunning to me. About the committees. I'm not going to read all these. Yeah, I've done, like, web stuff, game stuff, like, worked in apps and things, books, design, edit, research, project management, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I just own suits. About the committees. I'm not going to read the descriptions for all of these, but just we're going to scroll past real quick. Look at them, okay? Look how they present themselves. Does this feel like one unified, clear party that knows what it's about to you? Democratic National Committee. Democratic Association of Secretaries of State. Democratic Attorneys General Association. Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. Democratic Governors Association. Democrats Legislative Campaign Committee. Democratic Lieutenant Governors Association. Democratic Mayors Association. Democratic Municipal Officials. Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee. Democratic Treasurers Association. National Democratic County Officials. The ASDC. There is no consistency whatsoever about any of this. And how are we supposed to get people on board with this, right? These are all, like, different individual organizations, but, like, it doesn't seem like anyone in any level of democratic organization or leadership is looking up and realizing, like, if we, like, got a random person off the street and said, tell us what Democrats are right now, they couldn't tell you. No one knows, including the people who are in it. This is such a bad look. Like, each of these designs are fine in themselves, but even, like, look at their logos and stuff. These do not match. These are made by completely different groups of people who in no way are talking with each other. They're probably hardly working with each other. Like, wouldn't it be cool if there was just, like, Democrats, and then they're, like, mayors, like, Democrats Senate, Democrats Congress. Like they're different divisions of the same organization, and then they would have a strong like mission statement and strong values, and they would all be moving like in lockstep. Yeah, frankly, I think that do I think they care? I think a lot of people in democratic positions of power do care, but they're clueless normies who have no idea what to do with that. They don't know what they're doing. Like I think there's lots of general good intent, but no strong plan or mission of how to get there. And now we're seeing younger people who are like so pissed off that they're running and winning because they actually just have like a vision or an idea. And I think the bar is so low right now based on this concept of generational like comfort and safety of like being an establishment incumbent person in a role that is not hard to outcompete them. Like Zoran Mamdani's ideas of affordability. I think affordability is a rare problem. I don't even think Zoran's policies are necessarily like economically like nuanced, super smart solutions to those problems. Like freezing rent has upsides and downsides, and it stops the building of new housing, which makes life better for the people in those apartments, but stops other people from moving and getting apartments. There's going to be fewer of them, and they're going to be more expensive for everyone else. So like that's the thing. We're like, he's trying. It's a good effort. Like if we got any like progressive person, like what makes sense? I don't know. Like let's stop raising the price of rent. Like, but you don't necessarily need to be like this brilliant economist who's actually fully solved the problem to run and win. You just need to prove you're trying something. You're doing something. The bar is low. Even as like public-owned grocery stores. Why groceries are expensive? There are reasons like tariffs and stuff. But like groceries aren't expensive because groceries, like the grocery store specifically, has massive margins. Grocery stores have tiny margins. The price increases are not coming from the grocery store staff. They're not like middlemen who are really ripping you off. But Zoran has proved like he has ideas. He wants to try some stuff. But I think the bar is that low where that is enough. Like they don't even need to necessarily be great, super smart, well thought out, like guaranteed success ideas. It just needs to be, give me something, give me anything. So yeah, I don't think that like a lot of Democrats are this like conspiratorial evil, like they agree with everyone on the other side and they don't want to do anything. A lot of them are just clueless. Like they, got into office many, many years ago when they had no competition. And people just assume like that's just how it has to be. And it's pretty easy if you try and come up with a better, stronger idea to like push people on that. That's like how Obama happened. Obama had very little experience in government and he just ran for president with like an actual pitch. And that was enough. Also, being against Republicans, sadly, is enough these days. Like being against Trump is honestly, people complain like, oh, that's not a great idea. Like, there should be more than that. And yes, there should be more than that. But Trump is so terrible that literally just being not Trump is enough to coast in an election unless you have like competition that's I'm not Trump and also I want to give you better healthcare. And there's not enough people running for office, so I'm just not Trump. Kind of is in a lot of positions of power the best there is. Which sucks. I agree that sucks. But yeah, it's like this strategy game against a cult led by a guy with 80 years experience in marketing. Who's going to win that battle in the information age, in the social media age? We've seen it happen, and we've seen this absolute failure to keep up. So that's the Democratic Party here. Where we stand. Okay, where we stand. Bunch of people, we're getting patriotism message back. All their signs just say USA. Weird thing to put on a sign, especially when there's a flag. A flag also means USA, and it's already like iconography you already recognize. Probably better, if you have the option, just hold up a US flag instead of a sign that just says USA. That feels like a waste of print costs. There's already a stronger, centuries older embedded message in a flag that says USA. Here we go, where we stand. Democrats believe that the economy should work for everyone, healthcare is a right, our diversity is our strength, and democracy is worth defending. These are good. However, these are all things that need to be proven. These are not self-evidently true. Healthcare is a right. Where are they getting that? Like, this isn't actually showing the importance of healthcare or why that matters, why that makes a difference. It's just saying, you should have it. It's on you to understand what that means or why. If you are able-bodied, if you're like a blue-collar, able-bodied guy, and you don't know anyone who's like, has any disabilities or illnesses, or like health issues, and you're kind of selfish and a sociopath because you're not making that much money, you just care about like, your wallet, your bottom line, why would you necessarily care about healthcare, right? Like in the same way, an election that's like only old people are voting don't care about free college because it doesn't affect them personally and it's kind of whatever. So like healthcare is a right. Tell us why healthcare is important instead. And also, I don't know if it is a right. Like, is that guaranteed anywhere in, like, the Constitution or the Bill of Rights? I haven't seen anything about healthcare. FDR tried to pitch we could have, like, a second Bill of Rights that's about these positive rights. But they're not really there. Our diversity is our strength. This is a buzz phrase that makes people groan because no one's ever explained what it means. There are objective, measurable upsides to diversity in leadership positions for businesses. Businesses make more money. If you're just hiring the same suburban raised like white guy who's never faced any strong issues in his life into like every major position of power, they have blind spots. They can be good at some things. They have blind spots. Whereas if you have people who have, you know, faced bigotry in their life, they come from like a bad inner city and they've clawed their way up to like get through school, get through college. They have like a battle-tested perspective on things. There are ways like products brand themselves too, and like advertising. Like you want to have like men and women, like white people and black people, and like, you know, have different types of people look at the same thing, and they will be aware of more stuff. Like it's not even just like just have all black women and not all white men, but it's have different perspectives on the same thing. You will get a more rounded view of the thing, which you can like shore up any weak points or oversights in your business plan, in your advertising, in your presentation. And you can pitch these things better. Frankly, even if you're trying to pitch like, here's why abortion is important as a right, you should get some men to like ask questions about that. Because if it's just a room full of women, some things will be self-evident and obvious that a man might not understand, might not occur to a man. So like that's, you know, even in a focus group, whatever, like that's a useful conversation to have. When you only have one perspective, you know, it's like in sim economics, right? You want to diversify your portfolio just in case. You can't just bet only on one thing and only understand one piece of the puzzle. You want to understand all of it. But you can like make a case for diversity, but they don't make a case for diversity. Democrats across the country are working hard to build a better America. We're fighting to build an economy that works for everyone by lowering costs for working families, which is different than middle-class families. They should have consistent messaging on that, and they don't. Working families includes, like, anyone, pretty much. But also families feels like it excludes single people sometimes. I don't know. Weird back and forth on that. Especially now that, when polled, lots of young men specifically said they were desperate to, like, you know, their top priority in life is they wanted to have a family and start a family, but they couldn't. And that's why, like, Republicans won a lot of young male voters is because of these promises of this, like, traditionalist dog whistling. Lots of them are becoming Christian because, like, podcasts are selling them on be a Christian and have a trad wife. They can't deliver that, and that's a problem. That's why they're losing that support now, because they can't make good on that promise, which hurts, again, their trust long term. But these are the kinds of values there. So, like, hey, we care about families is also going to appeal to older people who are already married and have kids, and is going to land you less and less support over time with younger people who can't have a family right now, who can't afford it, who haven't started a family, who don't know how, the COVID kids who don't have the social skills to like start dating someone and connect and start a family. This is going to start alienating people. Maybe like working Americans would be good. Tap into that patriotism just a little bit. Lowering costs for working families and investing in the middle class. Wouldn't it be better to just appeal to everyday Americans or working Americans and then, hey, we're going to give you more money. We're going to bump you up. That's something that would appeal to the bottom and the middle. But, like, if I'm not already in the middle class, I kind of feel like I don't get the good stuff. You can say we're creating great middle class opportunities, but, like, you need to get people up into college, get them into the middle class first. Otherwise, you've told them to go screw themselves again. Democrats are dedicated to ensuring a stronger and more just future for every American. But you keep burning them by overlooking the people who are below the middle. It's weird. They're always talking about lowering costs. Lowering everyday costs is great branding. Lowering everyday costs, as we'll get into in future streams, is used by a lot of brands as a line. Like, affordability is great. Affordability is not saying middle class. All right, here's the Democratic Party platform. We pulled this up before. On a thing. Oh. It's a 92-page PDF. We'll look at the table of contents at least, okay? So we'll get a sense of the priorities, not only of like what's in this, but the order they put it in should show us a good sense of priorities at a glance. But there is no succinct elevator pitch or mission statement for what this is or what it's about or why you should care, why you should get on board if you're not already. They started with a goddamn land acknowledgement. I'm starting to see why Democrats are not winning the hearts of the average American. Why this is maybe not popular among lots of people. Also, gonna be honest, I don't know about the stats from like Native Americans on this, but a land acknowledgement always, to me, as a white person, looks and sounds very performative. This isn't actually helping indigenous people. This isn't doing anything for them. It's saying, hey, by the way, I know about you. Anyway, let's talk about like middle-class white suburban families who are sending their kids to college. Which to me feels like more of a self-aware middle finger and we're blowing you off. Instead of at least like an oversight. You think, oh, they probably do want to help me. They just like forgot or weren't aware. That feels more innocent. This feels like this more like, yes, we did in fact screw you over and forget you. Can we couple this land acknowledgement with something to back it up? Is this their top priority? And if so, can we back it up? What are you doing for the Native American community? If that's your top priority, how are you helping? Is it even like a tax policy? Is it investing in those communities? Is it giving land back to them? Is it some form of reparations? And then there's a preamble. Our nation is at an inflection point. What kind of America will we be? A land of more freedom or less freedom? More rights or fewer? An economy rigged for the rich and powerful, or where everyone has a fair shot at getting ahead? Will we lower the temperature in our politics and come together, or treat each other as enemies instead? Oh boy. Yeah, federal recognition of tribes is great, but like recognizing them, what gives the recognition? Is it like legal? Just back it up, you know? Back it up with substance. But here, this preamble, this is where the stakes in this election are enormously high. If they're enormously high, if there is some life or death message here that they should have had, what is that message? The stakes don't feel that high to you. It doesn't feel like you care about the high stakes if you don't say what the stakes are. If you don't like define this and answer this. Thank you for the heart, David. Our nation is at an inflection point is like already, we're using college level language here. It's descriptive, it's passive, it's not anything. This is nothing. This is a nothing sentence. What kind of America will we be? This is a nothing question. A land of more freedom or less freedom? This is nothing. Who's who? Who's on what side? You will see not only Republicans, but also like churches and like religious institutions and influencers are very good at setting up this narrative, this storytelling of us versus them. Here's the two sides in this. There's like good guys and bad guys. More freedom or less freedom? So a good thing first, right? I want more freedom. Sure, why not? I don't understand what that is because freedom is this very like liquidy, abstract substance and not a material anything. More rights or fewer? Sure, I guess I want more rights and freedom, but those are embedded enough as like American virtue signals to, I guess, count as something, but they're not defined. But we're setting up, okay, good thing or bad thing? Good thing or bad thing? An economy rigged for the rich and powerful, or where everyone has a fair shot at getting ahead. But now we switch the language in the question. If you're repeating this question in structure, now we have bad thing or good thing. Wait, which side am I on? Am I supposed to be listening and being like, bracing myself for, they're going to tell me a good thing and then a bad thing? It's not flipping it. Because if we're associating an economy rigged for the rich and powerful, is now associated with more freedom and more rights. Are they telling us the Democrat vision and then the Republican vision? Or the Republican vision and then the Democrat vision? Whose side are we on here? Will we lower the temperature in our politics and come together? Which I guess is the good thing, but it's very wordy and abstract. Or treat each other as enemies instead. Remember, it's a good thing, but it's a badly worded, inefficient good thing. And then a bad thing again. Or treat each other as enemies. But don't you want to win? If it's a high-stakes election, you want to win. If it's a high-stakes election, is this like this great battle for rights and freedom? Or rigging versus like everyone? need to not treat everyone as enemies and it's okay. If this is really what's on the line, if these are really the stakes, if these are really the enormously high stakes, but we're not up against enemies? What? Do we see how, like, even at a high level, even with this abstract direct text and messaging and primary sources here, Democrats don't have a definition here. It's echoing through everything, including, this is literally their official party platform in 2024. What is this for? What is this about? They've refused at every opportunity to define themselves and to stand by the definition. They keep undercutting themselves. Is this about an epic battle for freedom and rights and an economy for all? Or is this about, we're not enemies, it's fine. What is this about? We're just gonna read this preamble page, I think. No, but it's so much. I don't care. Okay, what are the table of contents here? These are all buzzwordy. These are all buzzwordy and they're inconsistently structured. If it was like health, economy, you'd have these like bold, big picture ideas. Alright, let's just read the chapter titles. Chapter 1, Growing Our Economy from the Bottom Up and Middle Out. That's already abstract again. It's not a thing. Could be good. I like that a little bit, like growing our economy up. From the middle out is weird. It feels like, why can't we be on top? Why can't we be actually good and win? It's, I don't know, middle out kind of deflates that a little bit. But okay, it seems like they at least want to care about the people on bottom a little bit. But it's still ranking your own party and, like, it feels disrespectful. It feels disrespectful. Economic progress, investing in America, good jobs, small businesses, agriculture, fighting poverty. Can't fighting poverty be first? Isn't that a stronger sell? Because even middle class people are like, oh, there's a thing I can't get and I want to get it. I want more money. Like, there's a consistent, I want more to have everything I need in the working class and the middle class. In the upper class, you have, like, the billionaires who are addicted to profiting and making more money, but they can't even spend it all. They're not using it for anything. There's nothing they're missing. They are in no way, like, poor. There's no negative that matters to them, and it really does read like an addiction more than anything. Chapter 2, Rewarding Work, Not Wealth. Are these different? Are these the same? Cutting taxes for working families, making the wealthy and big corporations pay their fair share. Can't we get, like, a more concentrated, stronger, clearer us versus them? Like, we need to help fight poverty, not protect the rich. Like, create a clear dichotomy and tie these together. Because we're kind of restating the same thing, but not entirely. It's why are these separate chapters? Where do you draw the line? What's the clear division here? I don't get it. Chapter 3, Lowering Costs. Is that not how we reward work? That you can go to the store and spend your paycheck and get what you want? Why are these separate? Corporate greed is a section in lowering costs and not rewarding work, not wealth. Weird. Here we get housing and education. I don't understand these division lines at all. These are not, like, clear conceptualizations of anything. It's vague, it's repetitive, but also not fully descriptive on any one thing. Chapter 4, Tackling the Climate Crisis, Lowering Energy Costs, and Securing Energy Independence. Putting climate and energy here together. But lowering costs, energy costs is not in lowering costs. We have lowering energy costs specifically. They're in a separate chapter. And it's about affordable energy. What? We keep stepping on our own toes, repeating things, talking exhaustively about climate, but it's a lower priority when it feels like pretty straightforward and consistent. Affordability has gotten so bad, we've lost the fight on environment as an issue. It's just sad. Oh, okay, but now we have protecting communities and tackling the scourge of gun violence. I have issues with this as well. I think, like, tackling gun violence is a good thing. Safety is a great thing. Safety resonates better than protecting communities and tackling the scourge of gun violence. The scourge? Are we, like, we're fighting pirates? we're tackling scourges. It's abstract. Also, tackling this issue feels, it's, I don't know, sports metaphor, but it feels very like business and officey. We're not, like, on the right, how Republicans talk about this is like safety, like ending crime. A clear active verb, and then a clear topic you know is bad. Also, it feels disrespectful to me to think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Start with this basic, direct, like physical safety needs, getting like food, shelter, you don't want to die, and then you can get into like bigger ethical values and self-considerations, self-fulfillment as you go up. I don't think it's a good idea to we need to protect the climate, this big picture abstract thing, like, trees and air, and then say, oh yeah, and then also gun violence and like public safety. Like, it feels like they care more about trees than people. This is immediate. This is right now. Climate's a bigger picture thing. I like protecting climate. I think it's a good goal. That should be what you build towards, right? Like, hey, right now, we're going to tackle affordability, health, and safety. We're going to do that. We're going to set you up. We're going to, tear up these wounds of economic division and class divide. Like, so, we're going to give everyone a chance instead of this growing wealth disparity. We're going to stop the bleeding right now. We're going to build a safe, stable world of opportunity right now. Where is that going to lead in the future? We want that to build towards a green, bright future where we have this utopian technological wonder where, like, we can protect the climate. We're going to have trees everywhere, flying cars, green, like, free energy everywhere. That's the utopian. That's tomorrow. We're going to save you today and build a better tomorrow. That's like the sequence you want to imagine this in. But there's not a priority of that. And when I think of things like this, like, I wonder, how did they structure this? Was it thoughtless and random? Or are there different interest groups, like, fighting each other to be in a certain order? Because we're getting, like, middle class is what they care about first. Then we'll take care of, like, wealthy people, but these feel separate. Then we have lowering costs, which isn't that. Because if you ask an average person, especially a working class person who's not super engaged, how they're considering, like, we need to, like, a better economy and better wealth, start with the grocery store. Start with the grocery store. Start with, like, the pharmacy. Those are, like, the basic essential costs. Then get into business. Not everyone is a small business owner. I guess you want small business owners on board. I'm a small business owner, technically, legally. Start with safety. Like, I'm in a bad neighborhood. And, like, say, like, you're in a bad neighborhood. You need safety on the streets. That feels very essential, along with groceries. Or, like, you want to get a slightly better house, move to a better neighborhood, or fix your neighborhood. These are, like, the basic costs, right? Having a small business, it feels like, I don't know, you've already kind of got your basics life together a little bit. Then you care about small business. And I get there's a lot of small business owners. I think it's good. But, this feels kind of step 2. Or, like, good jobs, economic progress. I'm in an emergency. I need food, shelter, and safety today. Then I want to invest in, like, building a business and growing wealth in the future. And then we're going to, like, build up into, I'm sending my kids to college now so they can do the same as me. And I want my kids to live in a world of free energy and clean, fresh air and safety, and there's clean, like, drinking water. This, like, utopian green hope. You need that. You need to build that, like, roller coaster track. These are disjointed and scrambled and out of order. Then we have strengthening democracy, protecting freedoms, and advancing equity. Do we care about equity here? Or, like, shouldn't equity be in this if you're talking about class divides? You don't need to talk about economics necessarily in terms of class divides. You can talk about just these, like, basic needs. But, literally, like, the way we should tackle this in order. I'm just going to look this up and then pull in the graph. And I want to make videos about this, like, just this directly. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This is a thing in psychology. A lot of people, I assume, have heard of this. Okay. From Wikipedia, sure, that works. That's good. I'm gonna make sure this is in the shot as best I can. Let's open image new tab. And then we're gonna zoom out a little bit, make sure we can get this into the, sorry, I need to, like, move this into the frame for everything. I mean, that's probably not gonna be great. Let's just go to, if we click on the Wikipedia page, there we go. Now we can see it. It's this idea that you have your basic needs first. Once you get those locked in, then you start considering and wondering like what would make you happy and fulfilled and like where you want to go is going to be the next step up. So we start with physiological safety. Air, food, water, sleep. You know, we need a bathroom, you need air, you need food, you need somewhere you can sleep, like a shelter where you're not going to die. Like you're worried about hypothermia, you're worried about your next meal. Air, obviously. Air is so fundamental, we don't even consider it. That becomes an environmental issue long term. But that's not, you're not immediately like, oh gosh, I can't breathe, right? Like, if you couldn't breathe, the next second, your biggest concern would be, I need to breathe. Then you get like safety. So like, yeah, like resources, you know, for tomorrow. How do we have enough, like, do I have a solid enough shelter to last me through like next few days? Am I like in any mortal peril? Am I going to be like, you know, shot? Am I healthy? Like you go to the doctor. You need food every single day. You need to go to the doctor whenever you have a problem. So then we start to get into that. So like health is a secondary issue. Crime is also kind of in that secondary issue a little bit. Family, health, property too. Is my stuff going to be stolen? That's also a thing here. Like if you have stuff, will it be stolen? And that's where you get into things like gun rights. People care about not only are going to take their guns away, but people feel they need a gun because they're worried about keeping their stuff safe. And that's important. A model of policing, like defund the police. I get the nuanced arguments there. We need like mental health resources and other professionals, and relying on like corrupt institutions, just giving corrupt people like wild budgets to spend on goofy stuff, is bad. That feels like wrong. But we're in that whole defund the police argument. What was ignored was this basic perspective of like, my community is dangerous, and really I want to be able to call the police if I'm in danger. I need good police. That's important, like community policing. Like these are good. If you're in danger, you can't be like this theoretical. If you're like, oh, we don't need police at all, to me indicates you are like suburban, middle class in a safe neighborhood. It doesn't super matter to you. You don't see the urgent issue why you need police. And I think you want to frame like police reform and getting rid of police brutality. It's important, and the way we should talk about that is, hey, if you are in danger and you need to call the police, you should not hesitate because you feel like you can't trust the police. Police we can trust. That is a great idea right there. Police we can trust. Thank you, Left by answering for the flower. Yeah, and like so that's kind of like safety idea, right? Like if you're in danger, if there's police who are selfish and violent and stupid and are going to cause more problems than they fix, that is unacceptable. And I think there you can even appeal to that American exceptionalism a bit. Like there's no reason we can't have the best police in the world. We need better police training. We need all of that. The complicated problem here, a lot of police brutality is because you have a lot of like not very educated men who become police. They have not examined educationally, not gone to college, they've not reflected on deconstructed their own biases. Like they have implicit racist biases, they have implicit sexist biases. That does not mean they're like pigs who openly hate different groups of people than them, but they just haven't challenged these ideas. They're kind of born with them or presumed a little bit. Like it's that oops. And I think we need room for that. That idea that like when people, especially conservative people who have not examined these biases, who've not gone to college, hear like you're racist, the idea is this active, like scheming, villainous, specifically, consciously, you don't like people who are of different races than you. And people take offense to that because like, wait, that's not where I'm at. At the same time, it's true, like they might have biases where like in an emergency moment and they have to make a decision, who will they save? Who will they hurt? Who will they assume in a snap judgment is the victim and who's the criminal? Statistically, we can track that stuff. And there are racial biases in there. It's not like they are not making random choices. They're making presumptions that are wrong and dangerous. But the conversation is way too confrontational and feels like we're blaming and putting malice on people, that they like withdraw and argue against that conversation instead of getting to address the underlying issue. We need like just this basic training. A lot of the cops too are guys who are like in a dangerous job. That's a lot of stress and anxiety. Even if they didn't start with like biases, they will build them. They will build a like pessimistic view of people because their job every day is to go deal with violent, scary people who do crimes, like for the most part. And that's going to bias your perspective of people over time. And like they need therapy too. They're in danger a lot, and that's going to give them like hair trigger instincts, and it's going to mess them up. But it's a lot of this like these macho guys who like haven't examined or reflected on any of that educationally, and they need therapy but they feel like they're badasses and they feel like they shouldn't ask for therapy because that makes them weak and bad. That's a problem. That's a problem. It's a problem. And they are the ones who need help too. Like, a lot of these couples are victims of that. They're putting themselves in psychologically messed up situations that will mess you up, and they don't ask for help. And help is not provided to them. Help should be provided whether or not they ask for it, because they're not going to ask for it. There's also a culture of, even beyond their personal views on strength or weakness, even if they are aware they need help or should ask for help, they want to impress and stand by and still look tough and strong in front of their friends and coworkers who are also cops. They don't want to seem weak. They don't want to seem weak and then be taken off duty. They don't want to give up their own job because they're worried about these other economic concerns. A cop is not necessarily a super well-paying job. They're worried about being fired if they admit they're having a problem. They're worried about being demoted if they're having a problem. They're worried about losing the only part of their day that gives them this sense of belonging. Oh, here's the third level thing. Love and belonging. A lot of men, when polled, what are their top issues? What are they acting on politically for? Is they want to get a family. They want friendship. They want community. Not having this in COVID messed up a lot of people, and they fell back down to here, which is why they're falling back down into these bigotries and like tribalism, and traditionalism became way more prominent. They're like, they don't understand other people, how to connect to them. They panic. They start trying to draw lines or find community. And I don't know, like, someone told me I should go to church. Okay, I'll go to church. Someone told me I can only trust white people. Okay, I'll only trust white people. Someone told me I can't trust women. Okay, I won't trust women. And they're trying to desperately to sprint towards where they see a group and a sense of belonging, which is easy to define based on like very obvious physical traits like gender and race, or like single things like religion, where you can make your whole identity about, and then draw a line in the sand of here's people I can trust, here's people I can't. We need better like therapy and resources and outreach and community. Without that in COVID, like, it kind of collapsed down and people got a way more rudimentary bad way of solving this problem, but they feel they need the problem, love and belonging, right? People need to have the financial security to eat and to sleep and to have shelter. Then people need this like basic safety, need to live somewhere we're not in danger. Then you're more open to building healthy love and belonging and community. Wow. Then we get into esteem, self-esteem, confidence, achievement, respect of others, respect by others. Starting a small business, getting a college degree, these are big achievement markers. Like, this is where that comes from. A lot of men who are insecure and don't have this esteem level are falling back down a little bit. They're getting like, you know, they don't have a girlfriend, and then they're taking them out into like, they're dropping back down to love and belonging and building a gendered view of who's on their side and who they like and who they don't and who they can't. And they're tying all this together, like they're collapsing. They don't know how to get this. If you are insecure, you're not getting past this. Then at the top you have self-actualization. Here you get the like very leftist idea of I should just be able to like live in a utopia where I want to be an artist and a philosopher. I should just get to be an artist and a philosopher. Which is like, that's a good noble thing, right? Here at the self-actualization level, you can think in terms of like, you know, hey, I was wrong about something. I can accept that. That's okay. Because I have the self-esteem, learning I'm wrong about something isn't a challenge to that. You know, you can accept new information and change your beliefs accordingly. But that's only once you have all this other stuff. So you see lots of poor people will join cults, political or religious or gender-based like podcasty or media cults, and they outright reject, say, email evidence that your cult leader, the person you identify with, did horrible crimes to children. You will reject that outright because you don't want to give up, you don't want to sacrifice your sense of community belonging for it. Because you are worried if you give up this leader who you voted for and told you he will make your life better and affordable and will make you rich too, like, you don't want to give up this kind of safety stuff, this physiological, like, we're going to win and succeed and have what we need stuff. You're poor, you're desperate, you're working class. You voted for the guy who's told you he's going to fix the economy overnight. But if you like accept the facts that he's a bad guy and you get off that train, it feels like you're being told to sacrifice this physiological level, so you're not going to. And this explains like a lot of political positions. And if you look at a lot of excuse me, like policy positions and the priorities in ads and stuff of the Democrat Party and the Republican Party, Republicans are targeting this lower stuff. They're fear-mongering about crime. Whereas Democrats are focusing on this college-level stuff where it assumes you're already up to self-actualization. Get a degree in what you want to get a degree in. I think a lot of people would love to explore their gender, their sexuality, their interests, their passions, their creativities. They would like to get a degree in like underwater basket weaving. You know, that's like the meme. And honestly, getting to like underwater basket weave, that sounds weird and fun. That's a kind of weird, fun thing you should get the opportunity to do in college, but you don't get that chance because you're more worried about this lower stuff, and that will make you resentful of the people who can get that chance. And it feels silly. It feels less important because psychologically it is. So like we can't forget this stuff. Affordability beats out messaging on like, you know, diversity is our strength, which is conceptual, or democracy is important, because those are big values. Those are at the top of the pyramid. And if you don't have this other stuff, you care more about this other stuff. People could say, hey, I'm not racist. I think the racist stuff this administration wants to stand for is bad. But they told me this tariffs will be the golden ticket to like let me afford stuff, and I can't afford stuff. At the end of the day, people who even know this stuff is morally, ethically, philosophically bad will still choose the stuff that promises them these lower levels. That comes first. So if you're looking for like where should you base your strong messages, what issues should you prioritize, this is really the key. This is the language behind that. And what we're seeing now is affordability is winning where protect democracy failed. This is why. People will vote for like, you know, this promise of we're going to end all crime. We're going to get rid of all the bad people, because that's like this more like caveman monkey brain appeal to we're going to give you this lower stuff that you're concerned about because you don't have it, will take precedent for more people. Like, and if you're lucky to be up here, the concept of what America is meant to be about actually, not only our founding fathers, but the writers they read and inspired them in Europe, like the Enlightenment values are all self-actualization. Where liberal arts education comes from, liberal, like liberalism, means freedom, like liberates. The idea was you'd have like typically this class of like rich white guys who could kind of live as like nobles and like, I'm going to dedicate my life, like this modernist kind of idea and this Enlightenment idea, to learn everything. Like that was the virtue to strive towards, you know. And you have like a rich white guy would be like, well, you know, I have this family wealth. I've gone to law school to like fulfill myself and to learn how things work. I've studied philosophy. I've studied theology. I'm going to try and learn all the different types. I'm going to memorize like the, you know, animals and minerals and plants and learn about my world and like aspire. And like that idea of being able to not necessarily conquer, but to like discover and check off everything and feel like you are a rounded person. That's where the virtue of liberal arts came from. And it was only an opportunity that the rich could afford, but it makes you feel like a more satisfied person. What do you do when you're rich and have everything, you don't have any problems? Then you want to learn. You want to discover and explore. When I see a lot of leftist spaces focus on like college, it tells me, first of all, they're college age. And second of all, they're middle class. You know, you're from the suburbs, you're bored. You're not worried about some more basic stuff. And I think we should build it back, especially to get all the kind of podcast bro types back on board. The young boys and men who feel aimless in school because they're messed up by COVID and are falling down these obsessive like paths into hating women, to hating people of color, to hating people of different religions. These people who are not themselves religious, but they're getting into one religion and then they're making it a sports thing against other religions. They're missing this. Like, they were not really raised on this, like, the importance and virtue, not only practically to make money, but even, like, intellectually and emotionally. You should aspire and learn and get a degree and grow. Like, that's cool. And the extent to which the Democrats' message, hey, you want to grow the middle class, should focus on that. Like, have strong role models. This is virtuous. It used to be, you know, you would have, in part of that patriarchal system, like, you would have an adult man who was a senior in a guild of a trade, or like was a lawyer or was a doctor, and they would take a young lad, like a family friend or a nephew or something, under their wing and fake engagement policy, live visibility restricted. Well, I may have to unstream then. I'm not doing any fake engagement stuff, whatever. You know, you would teach, you try to learn and you try to teach, and you promise you have someone who's like been through it and has made something of their life, would be like, kid, you should learn about all this stuff. I promise you, you don't see it now, you're too young. It's more satisfying. Here, I'm going to give you like a reading list of books on history, on theology, on philosophy, on etiquette. Learn about the world and the people in it. you will be better off for it. And trust me on this. And then I'm going to make sure you follow through in school and you follow through in your work, and then you like get a degree in like law or medicine or something. Or like you even go to like seminary, right? I mean, in a lot of history, religion is kind of a representative for like philosophy. And just like learning and seeking emotional fulfillment too. So sorry, it's like a long spiel, but like this is what your political priority should be, and this explains and matches up to a lot of political messaging. The Democrat brand keeps virtue signaling the big ideas that are literally like virtues. That's all self-actualization stuff. None of that's like practical basic needs you're going to see the light of day stuff. I support like free college. I think that's a great idea. To an old blue collar guy who has a trade and is not realistically going to go back to college, even if given the option, that's landing on deaf ears. To someone who's worried about like, look, I'm not going to get to college. I just need, I work a retail job. I'm already past college age. I just need to put food on the table, and my rent's getting too expensive. They're not going to prioritize the party of protect democracy versus the party of we're going to make grocery prices. We're going to lower the price of eggs overnight. That's really the whole ball game, right? That's the whole ball game right there. Here's an article from Yahoo about the Democrat branding. Back to that central topic to kind of end us off. This was after they announced their rebrand. That's what they did on social media, at least. As the party organizes its opposition to Donald Trump's presidency, was the new donkey logo really a priority? Some supporters are wondering. But for all the criticism, a new visual identity was needed, even if it wasn't one of the best logos of all time. It's being mocked by Republicans for looking like a piñata, and by some Democrats for seemingly giving the party a ratings drop from 4 stars in previous designs to just 3, like the Republicans' elephant. Some people are reading perhaps too much symbolism into the fact that the donkey is now facing to the right rather than left. Interesting. While other Democrats are unhappy about the absence of the color red. Blue is considered the color of the Democrats, but some feel that losing the red is ceding the U.S. flag to Republicans. Others see the design as another example of trend towards oversimplification of logos. That is cool stuff. The new old Democratic logo dropped the other day, and let's be honest, it looks like something from an IKEA instruction manual. Where's the drama, the panache? We need to be out here fighting, not standing around waiting. There's so much art and design history to pull from, like this political cartoon, maybe even a metal type sort. I think like new simplified logos are the way to go. I think pointing right is the way to go. We think in terms of the political left and right, but when you think of a timeline, or a number line in math class growing up, which way is forward? Which way is more? Which way is good? Which way is positive? It's right. This is one of like the many, many ways which like conservatives have stacked the advantage. And you see this cultural legacy of like right versus left, right considered good and left considered evil and perverse. Like, don't be left-handed. There was a strong religious push to stop you from being left-handed because that was considered feminine and bad. And right-handed was considered strong and stable and steady. Another thing also, this is their PFP on social media. And any social media, you have your logo in like the top left, and then everything you write is going to be to the right of that. So by having the little donkey point right, it feels more in touch with what you're saying instead of this abstract remove thing. So there's like new reasons and very old reasons why I think the donkey facing right is good. It's the small stuff, right? But the small stuff adds up, and like psychologically, it taps into all the little things you've taken in and absorbed over your life and builds an impression. Hi, not heel flip go. Thank you for the heart. So this is like, I'm talking a lot of like branding and stuff because I think it adds up, and it's like some of the power and messaging and communication. We keep seeing the frustration that like no one understands what Democrats are about. And part of that is because there's no effort made on any front to communicate what Democrats are about. I kind of like this donkey. I think it's cute. It's a little geometric. It's maybe still a little complicated. But there's this and the D. And a big part of the problem, too, is I don't know if this or the round D is the current logo. Yeah, here's the other one. They have 2 simultaneous logos right now. This is an old donkey. Like, this is the new donkey up here. But we still have the D. And I don't know which one they want to do. They do both. We saw on the website earlier, they literally use both kind of interchangeably. Like if we go to the shop, you can see up here, like they have these both. You zoom out. They use kind of both sometimes. They use, like, you see some donkeys, you see some of the D's, and they haven't really made up their mind. Both could work. I think having a donkey, like a cute little animal, is more like personable. We like empathize with that. People are really good at recognizing faces too. Lots of logos are faces or smiles or something like that. It communicates a mood. No, people like just personify. We like seeing people and faces and animals. The D, I think, is really good and simple. I think the D might be a way to go, because it feels very simple and standard and safe. And we need this kind of reliable, like, great value brand everywhere of just affordability. So I think the most simple, like, literally you could draw this yourself, put this anywhere, might be more effective at that. I'm not sure either is necessarily great. But they're fighting, and you can tell, like, they have not made up their mind either, because they just have both. So that's like one problem. That's another fault line, right? Like, what is the Democratic Party? They can't even decide. They can't represent that. They can't show that. Yeah, like restoring law and order is a stronger brand, like hierarchy needs wise. Why is it a donkey anyway? Interesting. They were both inspired by the same cartoonist. Okay. And the animal mascots weren't exactly intended as compliments. The logo of the Democratic Party in some states is still a rooster. We need to get on the same page. On any platform. On any dimension. But the party's association with donkeys goes way back to Andrew Jackson, who was dubbed a jackass by his enemies. See, it's not really good to kind of accept Republican or opposition framing and insults of yourself and make that your brand. Probably not a great idea. Apparently, the Democrats like the terms common man implications. Okay, but it was Thomas Nast, a political cartoonist at Harper's Weekly from 1862 to 1886, who popularized the donkey as a representation of the party. Yeah, it's like not good. It's like accepting insult. But I do think it's good to say, especially as it was historically, and it should be again, the party of like your basic needs and working people. A donkey or a mule is great for that. That's what they're used for, like in agricultural settings on farms. How do I view anarchy? In like the technical philosophical sense, I think anarchy is always the theoretical idea. And then if you start with like anarchy and then you moderate based on like the practical needs and occurrences of people being fallible and like corrupt and just only put in rules as needed, you work backwards and you end up building a government that looks a lot like any Western government. Probably like closest to the democratic socialist governments in Europe that do really well. Where you put in rules where they're needed to like regulate justice and fairness and equality, and then you don't put in rules where it's unnecessary hierarchy. Like you just try to create a streamlined, agile government structure, which I think anyone should. Like no one should have unnecessary red tape. Yeah, but I think like anarchy words in the philosophical sense, not the like chaos, fire in the street sense, is always like the theoretical goal. Like rules as needed is a fine way to govern. Like hierarchy as needed. It's a fun way to govern. I've also tried to work on projects with like more than 2 people, or order a dinner at a party with more than 2 people on the phone. And that's the case. Like it becomes readily apparent. You do need some, hopefully democratically elected and accountable, like someone in charge to organize stuff. And that's fine as long as it's harmless and limited to that. I don't spend a lot of time like debating or discussing big like philosophy labels and like types of leftism, like, you know, anarcho-socialism versus whatever, because there's not a lot to gain from that, and it's just really more about applying the specific ideas and like delving deep into books, which I've read all the books. I read a lot of books, but you tend to get like diminishing returns. Supposed to like what is a practical, like a problem-solving public policy sense of politics is I think way more fun. Like what do we need to do? What should the rules be? Case by case. I think it's more of like a science of like design and like studying, you know, situations. Like, okay, what are the impacts of this? What do we need? Talk to people. Like public policy is a really good field. It's more scientifically informed rather than the old school concept of like instead of economics and science, of economics and politics as just like a moral philosophy. It doesn't think get you as far or necessarily work. Because now we have like the information age, we have the data science available, we have the communication like technology available. We can talk to people and find people and then count and track how different policies go. It's to me less an idea of it's just this like, you know, moral philosophy pitch, like what if, haha, what if it worked this way, and more like we can literally try stuff and then measure, which is like a huge breakthrough. Yes, exactly. Yeah, crime is actually like really low, relatively speaking, historically right now, and has been. But yeah, like people are economically stressed, and then news is telling them like to be scared of criminals and to be scared of immigrants. I think a lot of people who are scared of immigrants are really looking at two issues that they're calling immigrants, right? Because it's what they're told immigrants are doing. One, they're scared about economic security. They feel they need to compete for jobs and for high wages, and they're being told that immigrants are a threat to that. And then two, people are worried about safety, whether or not they're in a high crime or low crime area, but they see news stories when news stories are going to be about the crimes and big things that happen. So that's biasing their perspective because they're watching the news more than they're just like wandering all of the streets through town equally. And so like crime, for understandable reasons, gets spotlighted. And so there's a perception that crime is bigger than it is. And people are worried about crime happening to them, understandably. I live in a city. We have been crime before. It's scary. It's bad. I'm glad to be alive. I've been hate crime before. But yeah, so when people say they hate immigrants, they internalize that, and so the heuristic they draw, rather than debate them on the specific facts about immigration, because they're arguing from an emotional place and a personal place that's not from a place of fact anyway. What they're really worried about is like those Maslow's hierarchy of needs, insecurities and fears and worries about physiological safety and like, you know, practical safety, material safety. They're worried someone's going to hurt them or take their stuff. And they're worried they're not going to have a job. And they're being told that that's because of immigrants, and that's why they care about immigrants. But with a lot of things too, like especially if you're ever talking to like an incel or something, and they try to talk about gender or like anything like that, relationships, they're just insecure about like love and belonging and like having relationships, and they're being told lines like, "Oh, this is because of feminism." It's not. And you can just cut to the chase and talk about like, "Hey, you feel lonely. Why do you feel lonely? When did that start?" And they usually end up having an issue with their mom, or they don't have a girlfriend at school and they feel lonely at school. They don't have friends and they don't know how to get a relationship, because a lot of movies and shows are about like romance and love stories because they're easy to write, and that's not as universal an experience anymore. And it's like, you know, you stand a better chance by going a level over and addressing that. Yeah, like colonialism, like there's a lot of stuff that's just, I mean, it's more cynical and basic than we think. A lot of people I don't think are necessarily like evil imperialist ideological people. I think a lot of people, like a lot of colonialism was literally just, hey, we can make money by doing this. Hey, we can make money by doing this. Hey, we can get stuff by doing this. And just like went one step along, and then they like retroactively built morally justifying frameworks around that. Are rom-coms bombing at the box office? That's funny. Yeah, like priorities are shifting rapidly. Also, with the Democratic Party, like the looks of the website, which we talked about earlier, because all these mismatched fonts. I found the design studio that did this rebrand, and I think they did a bad job. And I say this as a designer. Like, I'm not trying to just trash them blindly. It's called Studio Mosaic. Even with their own website, by the way, see their logo, and then their other fonts they use. At least they're using the same, like, capitalize the first letter and not the whole word, so they're not, like, making that inconsistent. But they're using a similar kind of, like, artsy brand logo font, like a serif brand logo font, and then they're using sans serif too. They love like mixing clashing font styles. This is a little better because these fonts have similar width and like style and capitalization and a similar kind of friendly, polite vibe. But to me, this shows like a bias of this design studio that seems like Democrats have been using and not understanding why it's good or bad, and they're starting to fail, and I think they need to start looking at other places. If this studio or like any, you know, Democrats in office ever wanted to hire me to help put together like some branding for their stuff, I am definitely open to that, because this ain't it. We are Democrats, the party of America. The two fonts are already clashing. You have the little donkey here. And now we can talk about not only the mismatch of fonts, but what these fonts themselves are saying. This sans serif bold tall font they're using, it's okay. It's very modern. It's very bold. It's very pop art, but it's not super pop art. It feels a little corporate, and they're falling back into that solid, safe, stable thing. And it's like lower energy. I also think the bright blue is a bit exhausting. It's very vibrant. It's harsh on the eyes, but it's not like a very fun brand overall. You could want to lean into that fun and make that more consistent if that's what they're going for. We're seeing a mix of like modern and classic. They couldn't make up their minds, which is unfortunate. We're seeing the Joe Biden classic touches up here and like a more bold modern thing. It's not super energetic. It's trying to be. I don't think it's hitting. I think the donkey doesn't have like a face or any emotion into it. It's very like stable. So we're not seeing that energy carry through. This does a very difficult job very well, establishing a restrained and respectful identity. Here's a hot take. You don't want a restrained and respectful identity. If you're leading with this kind of header font in this bright blue, you're communicating this like fun, new, now, energy, fight, fight, fight vibe. But their right to identify, it does feel restrained. And I think that's to their detriment. The Democrats are terrified of being bold. They always retreat to this like timidity. We are Democrats. We are Democrats. The thing about this I find interesting is the way that, like, first of all, they're using the beige instead of the bold white. They couldn't quite commit either way on that, but you have two neutrals going for your white tone, which is clashing and bad. And then they have to put an exclamation point here to get that energy back. We are Democrats, and then the exclamation point. Also, they used the donkey and the Kamala Harris one, but not the Joe Biden one. And this is a graphical element, and this donkey doesn't really have a place. It's standing up to the side here. I don't know why. It looks kind of like a pin on her shirt. I can't tell if it is or not, but it feels out of place, like it's not doing anything. We're even up here, you Democrats, you have the little donkey up top. So they're like using their identity and then not using their identity at the same time. Here we have stars. Is stars a part of it? I don't really know. Like, I could see using the star as a symbol. If there was like a, maybe even like a Republican Party faction in Texas, they could just have the star be their symbol and then use that everywhere. That would work. But here, like, I don't understand why they're half committing to that. Or why do the stars go up like only to here and not the whole way? I don't know. I want Democrats to like Democrats. I want Democrats to stand for something. The alternative is Republicans, and they are just blatantly evil and bought into a cult and refusing to change. Democrats need to change. That's the, frankly, failed, hollowed out shell of party structure that is changing and open to change. We're seeing new people run for office and win. That makes sense. That's the label to run under. So that's the one we're deciding to workshop and to use. Stitching within this refresh is an updated color palette that stretches beyond red, white, and blue, introducing natural tones of yellow, green, red, and purple to reflect the exuberant energy of the party. I'm not getting the exuberant energy of the party from any of this. Not from any of their leaders and messaging. That's the thing, too. Even if you had a consistent, like, digital brand, if it's not matching the people you're running up against, it feels fake. It feels like the wrong brand for you. Like, if you have a t-shirt that says, I'm super fun, and you're like, Hillary Clinton, it's not going to work. We're seeing lots of colors here. This orange is more vibrant. This like reddish orange is more vibrant. And that kind of hurts my eyes. A lot of this, though, they're not saturated. They're not bright colors. It's not hopeful. It's not fun. It's not exuberant. It's not energetic. It's colorful, but it's more this kind of darker tone, like solid, reliable kind of thing. Like they're building blocks, but it's not energy. It's not energetic. You'd want bright colors to be energetic. These are more like faded or darker colors, which don't get that. We're also seeing a mismatch of fonts again. I guess it's kind of a style, but it's not clear what all the different style options are. They're switching between serif and sans serif, tall and wide, italics and not italics, but they're not using them all like equally, that it feels like a fun kind of collage thing. If all their ads would like rapidly flip through colors and fonts to show different words or something, the same word in a bunch of different styles, we could make a brand of this and make it like the rainbow theme coming through. But this just feels lazy. It feels excessive. I've not seen this used anywhere, not even on the Democrat website. And I don't understand why they want to use these colors too. Alongside these color updates are the two new typefaces, ITC Cheltenham and Trade Gothic. These fonts allow the refresh to feel both friendly and stoic, meeting the moment of our politics. Why are they picking these colors for these people here? Do we know? Does it mean anything? It's about their specific states? I don't get it. Aha, here we're seeing again. In the corners, now they're back to using the little donkey, which they didn't use on Joe Biden for some reason, who at the time was the face and leader of the party, which feels like a disconnect in the brand. We're seeing the little donkey appear on the left or the right of all these different posters. They couldn't make up their minds. They're also, again, relying on an exclamation point to add back in the energy that the font itself doesn't actually have, which feels lazy. It feels like a crutch. It feels also fake. It's like a very bold, serious business look, and then you're throwing an exclamation point on it. Like, it feels like they're trying to be more fun than they are, which is apt. The colors here do not match at all. We are Democrats doesn't make sense. I don't like we are as the first phrase you're seeing standalone doesn't really hit or work. I get the we, the us, the belonging, but it's weak. It's weaker than it has to. Another inconsistency, like this is bad. This is like unprofessional work. Maybe it's not. Oh, never mind. Sorry. It looks like the box doesn't go to the edge, and it's okay if they have a border. But on some of these, it looks like less of a border than others. Like this one here. I think this is also off the third one in the top row with the orange and white. Looks like it's just going all the way to the edge. Whereas if you look at Stacey Abrams to the right, it's very clearly not all the way to the edge, and there's a high contrast there. And yeah, it feels like Guess Who. It's odd. It's strange. It's weak. It's not really standing for anything. These are Democrats standing for being Democrats. Once again, a term that has a negative brand equity. When you tell people like, "Hey, this person's a Democrat," even if they like their policies, they're less likely to vote for them. It's a negative term. Like you can't just stand on the word Democrats. The goal is to make the word Democrat symbolic of these other positively, universally received things and ideas. The colors are all over the place. They don't stand for anything. They don't mean anything. The one on AOC here, this like purple and this like light pale green blue, is an ugly color combination. It undermines her. It does not do her well, especially when she has like her bright red lipstick. Like AOC deserves like a vibrant, bold color palette. Like it matches her energy, her well-established brand as a person. Why are they doing this? Why is this guy green? We are Democrats, and it's like a very faded, low-energy green. I don't understand it. The Stacey Abrams one I think looks the best in the top right. Is it Stacey Abrams? The blue and the beige. It looks like pretty strong and kind of classic, but really what pulls that together is the blouse she happens to be wearing. Like the warm orange red ties that together nicely. That's like aesthetically pleasing and that works. The others don't have that. And if she showed up in different clothes that day, it would not work. I like the Elizabeth Warren one too. I think we should use like a yellow or gold. But this is like the wrong yellow or gold. It's this old classic kind of vibe. Again, if the Democratic Party was going for this, we want to pitch this like party of tradition, institutional like wealth, which feels very Republican to me. If you're an old Republican running for office on this like classic tradition, I've been doing this for 50 years. I have a really good tax policy, and like I'm focused on like investment portfolios. I would want to run with like these traditional golds and these like whites and like pillar aesthetics. Like the old classic White House look. That would match. That energy would match. Why does Elizabeth Warren have it? I think Elizabeth Warren looks good with yellow. I think that works for her. But it's this like low energy, tired look. We're seeing that all throughout. Why is this guy to her right, this bright orange and white? We are Democrats. He's fun. He's giving fun. With that orange, the exclamation point makes sense. His smile makes sense. The beige feels a little tired and weak. I don't know. It's not adding up. Holding up signs that say USA. Don't do that. It's pointless. You're not getting anything from that. What are you standing for? What does it mean? What about the USA? What does the USA mean to you? Republicans have done a very good job of using USA and patriotism and the US flag as symbols, and then infusing those symbols with meaning. Of using that color palette, and then infusing that with meaning. They use darker colors usually, like dark blue, dark red, in Republican spaces, because it feels very like bold, classic, like hard-hitting kind of thing. But yeah, it's all over. We're seeing like most of the time this all caps look, and then we see here, I support LGBTQ youth, and it feels like more childish and kiddie, and they're making it lowercase. And then next to it, let's make our better future now. It's more condensed, and it's not showing how they're making a better future. This is a picture of like a government event. Maybe I think it's at the UN, but it's not showing like what the future is. There's no symbol of that. If you're telling people about the future, you want to present a clear image of what that future is. Like, the meme of like, if we have this right now and it's like flying cars and trees everywhere and like a future city, that like stock image that people have made a meme template. You want to associate future with that. What does the future look like? This is something you're doing now. It's an event. But this would be a more effective background image if you're talking about like global strength and security. And then, wow, we're showing up to these big meetings and commanding a room. But the message clashes with like the image clashes with the message as you've written out. And then also we're using this like soft cutesy lowercase version again, which you use with the I support LGBTQ youth. So like, why is this? Is this like a strong bold message? You'd want to use all caps for this, right? We're like, no, we're fighting now. We're organizing like the whole globe to lead and make a better future. That feels like you should use caps locks for that. Expanding voting rights equals filibuster carve out. This is the lowest energy thing I've ever seen. A filibuster carve out? Is that really the message we're getting behind? Let's go, Joe. That's fun, but like it doesn't really say anything. Boston's new mayor, Michelle Wu. Good for you, Michelle Wu. I guess she likes purple. I can't think of any other reason why they chose purple. Purple's the color of royalty. I don't know. It doesn't make sense, and it's just about she's the mayor. Wow, it doesn't say anything. It doesn't do anything. Donald Trump presented himself with navy in navy suits like I'm wearing right now. I use it for a reason because navy is a color of trust. And then you do like the bright red. Red is a color of passion and anger and fury. There's a reason why the MAGA movement wears red hats. They're communicating something like psychologically. It's the right tone. People tie this to emotion at a cultural level. His outfit is a uniform, yeah. So I started doing the same thing. I don't know what you mean by filibuster carve out. Yeah, it doesn't tell you what it is or why it matters. This is telling you we should expand voter rights. So it's like, this is the thing we want to do, the technical thing we do. So why? Why does that matter? Oh, because it means a filibuster carve out. Well, that's another thing. You need to tell me why it matters. And at that point, it's 2 steps removed from the message you want me to support, which is expand voter rights, to get to why it actually matters. You haven't told me. Something about the Capitol. I don't know. So to me, that feels like this is a message for congressmen and senators, not for me as a voter. This is nothing for me. It doesn't relate to me. The middle class built America. Okay. It feels disrespectful. I thought, based on other very popular messages in media and reporting and history, enslaved African Americans built America. Are we dropping that? Is that not who built America? Were they middle class? I thought it was like workers built America from scratch. That people who wanted a better world built America from scratch. That like poor working immigrants who came here just to have a chance to start at the bottom and work their way up built America. The middle class built America. It feels a little self-congratulatory by people living in the suburbs to people living in the suburbs. And also, what is this color use? Now we're getting a rainbow. That feels kind of ugly, right? And it's not like a good complementary rainbow. Pick one and stand out. Why are these colors used? It's not even in a specific rainbow order. We have Election Day is November 8th in a rainbow gradient into orange, which is an ugly color. AAPI Women's Equal Pay Day. AAPI women are paid 85 cents for every dollar paid to white men. That's this one on the left here. I'll slide over the feet a little bit so you can see it better. That's a good cause. It's not a call to action, though. Have you noticed that? If this was a Republican thing, they wouldn't say, this is the state of the world, it's bad. They wouldn't say crime is high. Republicans would say, we are ending crime. We're ending crime, and the Democrats are standing in the way of it. That creates like a call to action, a narrative, like a direction, a thing they want to do and are doing, something you should get behind and you care about. This is just stating a problem, being like, that sucks. Here you go. So what? Are Democrats the one to solve it? Are Democrats just describing this passively? Isn't it their job to fix it? What are we doing about it? This is just an ask that we are frankly bombarded with and overwhelmed with these days of here's another bad thing that's happening, you should care about it. You owe more emotional labor to the world and everyone in it. Which, I get that, like I want to care, I feel bad, but that means the people who care the most, who should be the most on your side, are just left with like a massive list of things to feel bad and worry about, but not anything to do about it. Republicans just say like, hey, vote for me and I'll take care of it. That's all you gotta do. And when we just build an audience of people who gets hyper informed about all the issues and nitpicks them and cares and worries about everything, then any politician who understandably is not going to solve every problem feels like they failed or it's not good enough. And then it teaches us to prioritize someone who's morally perfect on everything, which is how you get lots of leftists who will not vote for even a progressive candidate because they're not good enough and they're not perfect. And it stops us from doing anything. And then we lose to someone who's blatantly corrupt and just trying to make things worse and personally enrich themselves. It's not a winning strategy. It's hard. It's miserable. Conservatives get to have so much fun because they're not asked to care about anything. They're just allowed to be happy about things. And if you just want to be kind of head empty and stupid, that's a really good sell. Stop the abortion bans. Codify Roe. I like this. Stop the abortion bans. Codify Roe. That's great. This is more active voice, right? This is something I can get behind. It's a clear demand. However, as a voter, What the fuck am I supposed to do about that? Why are you telling me? Is this two politicians? Oh, this is BuyDemocrats.org. So is this just a message for your politicians? If this is just a message to the politicians who represent this area, I assume in New York, be like, hey, Schumer. You know, call them out personally. And then everyone who drives by this is going to be like, oh, Schumer's not doing that? I need to go, like, bother Schumer more and get on board with that, right? This is, again, like, it's... Democrats do lots of this, like, we as the party need to do this. And it's like, hey, why is the politician telling me to do that? Why is the Democratic, like, organization telling me to do that? It feels like that's their job. And it feels disrespectful, and it's not working, and it's making it worse. You know, like, it's... Know your audience. Who are you messaging for? Then design something for that purpose. It's so easy. Trump and MAGA Republicans want to ban abortion nationwide. This works if and only if you are already bought in to understand the abortion issue and already have a stance that it's bad to ban it. Which some people do, but again, like, this is Democrats failing to give their own messaging and are outsourcing it to colleges they assume you go to and are not helping you to go to. Nationwide, if you are pro-abortion, this is good news for you. You're just going to double down. So this does not win over anyone. It might be a call to urgency for some people on your side. That's a very small group. And it's also very neutral language. They want to ban abortion nationwide. That's descriptive. How about Republicans want to take away your choice? Republicans want to tell you what you can and can't do with your body. See, that's like more like motivating. It feels like personal. It feels offensive. It feels like they're attacking something. It's not just describing this like abstract concept. They want to ban abortion. Okay. They want to ban Kleep Glop. Make that matter. They want to take away your rights. Hey, those are my rights. Hands off. It's descriptive. And this also feels like, especially to women who might need to get an abortion, they're not talking to you. They're talking about this issue or this topic. They're not talking to you, the person who needs an abortion. They want you to care about or know, like, you are trying to protect them or you care about them. There's no, like, connection here. The tried and true Circle D brand of the DNC stays with us, evolving into a workhorse. It holds strong while delivering important information to the American people about the historic progress Democrats are making. The Circle D shares the new typography and color of the donkey brand to create a visual harmony between the two. Okay, that's what they just told us about this symbol. I like how the symbol looks in the abstract. If you're trying to, like, pitch Democrats as, like, a reliable, standard, basic brand, this is a very strong and simple symbol. It's aesthetic. It's pleasing to the eye. They told us it's evolved into a workhorse, even though their other symbol is an actual animal, which when they said workhorse, I thought, oh, like a donkey or a mule. But whatever. So weird choice of words there. It's distracting. This symbol, like, holds strong while delivering important information to the American people about the historic progress Democrats are making. That's good. You want Democrats to theoretically, like, conceptually, that's the pitch. That's where you should go. Here's what we are. Here's what we do. Connect those at all times. Like, Donald Trump puts his name personally on, like, the checks during COVID. He's put his own name on signs by infrastructure projects from Biden's infrastructure bill. It takes credit. If you want to build up an idea of what people should think about your party, start connecting your messaging and your wins to your brand so they know who's responsible for it. Like, companies will literally, like, you know, to be ad sponsors, will throw money towards events like the Macy's Day Thanksgiving Parade. You know, like brought to you by this company. They know the importance of that. Cause and effect, connect your thing. Connect your brand with the things you want people to associate with your brand. So, is this the workhorse that holds strong while delivering important information to the American people about the historic progress Democrats are making? Well, let's look at the same batch of images they just showed us of all this branding in practice. Let's see if we can find the symbol once. No. There's the donkey. No. Donkey. Donkeys. Donkey. No, nothing. Just let's go, Joe. USA, so less than nothing. We are Democrats. There's little donkeys sometimes. In all of these, in different places for no rhyme or reason. And it feels like an afterthought. It's added there just to be an element. It's not centered like the rest of the composition. But still, we're not seeing the D. We're not seeing it. It's not any there. It's not here. There's no symbol associated with Joe Biden, who's like meant to be the president and leader of this party. Not in this picture or down here. I wonder why. We are Democrats. Okay. Not once have they actually used that symbol to represent the thing they just told us they were using it for. Oh, here I have more images. Okay, jobs created by president. This is, again, now this we're back to attributing things to the president and that person who is old and unreliable and not a great brand investment instead of the party. If you want this to be the party-wide brand and work to help uplift new voices and be like a brand worth running other people under, and you want people to just vote blue down ticket, get the party some credit here, right? Make that like something worth getting credit for. This is all just making it about Biden personally, which I guess works for Biden, but like you're not helping your party long term or outside of yourself, in addition to yourself. Lots of things like jobs created, like, you know, you needed bills, you needed Democrats in Congress to help you on that. Where are they getting credit? Where are people associating when you vote for Democrats, these good things happen? None of that's clear. Here's the first time we see it. Here, we finally found the symbol. President Biden has signed the bipartisan infrastructure bill into law. Unfortunately, in the same graphic, they switched from like a semi-bold to a regular, and just for has signed the. So it feels weird and immediately distracting this first line. I've stopped thinking about anything else. I'm wondering why has signed is changed. It looks not consistent. I understand if you have a long text, you want to like sometimes highlight or bold certain keywords or phrases, but this has almost everything in that, including into law. So it's weird. It just feels like they forgot or this was an accident. I get this logo font, like the soft, not soft, but the sans serif YD does not match this style at all. It's way too narrow. It does not seem to match. President Biden has signed the bipartisan infrastructure bill into law. Oh, so the only thing they put the Democratic logo on is the thing that's about Biden specifically, and it's a bipartisan thing, by the way. They're not giving the party any credit. Here we have one. 217 House Republicans voted for a bill that could take health care away from millions of Americans, and they showed them. So they're giving Republicans credit. They're centering Republicans. They've not centered Democrats. It's so weird, right? The more I look into this, the more issues I find. Ron DeSantis. Biden. They left Obama off of this graph of manufacturing jobs, by the way, which is weird to me. It makes me feel like maybe Obama did more than Biden, and they're hiding that. They're hiding Clinton, too. There's like no continuity there. It feels a little sus. Feels a little sus. President Biden's budget will not raise taxes on any person making less than $400,000 per year. I like how clean and simple this one is, this green one, but why is it green? We're not associating this with anything. You put Biden on this. You should put, even honestly, I like simple things like this. Put the Democratic Party logo, the little D, right in the bottom center. It'd be clean. It'd feel like a brand, like a stamp, like a copyright symbol. Like, hey, Democrats did this. Make that the consistent message. Make that resonate. They're not. Oh, so we're not platforming Biden or putting his face on it, the eye-catching face, by the way, on this. Not even using the party colors. But we're giving Trump some extra visibility and credit. We're keeping Trump in the zeitgeist. I know this is small. These are all small things. But how do they work out? Big picture. How do they work out? To me, the Democrats are presenting as a party of inconsistent nonsense at every level, with no clear message, vision, or presentation of any of it. They fail at every opportunity to give themselves credit for their wins, and they also make sure to give their opponents credit for all the change, for good and for worse, that their opponents are doing, by name, by party, by color. This is a party that is surrendering the spotlight in the quick to learn, quick to forget attention economy that is the modern internet, that is modern advertising. This is a party that does not seem to want to stand for anything. This is a party desperate to be fun, but at the same time afraid to be. This is a party that wants to be bold, but wouldn't even dare to call it fighting. This is a party of losers who clearly outsourced this new media job to a design company. I would guess more out of familiarity or like a reference or, from someone else, from some other politician who already used them, but not because they're actually good or effective. This feels like, oh, I know a design firm, don't worry. Or like they gave us a good deal, which is a similar problem we're seeing with democratic policy. You don't get by the numbers, and it seems like efficient or makes sense, or because this is what the establishment's already done or used, or because another establishment person said was good, but it's out of step entirely with people's perspectives and values. A brand is how, beyond just words, beyond just speeches, you can define yourself and have people define themselves with you. Identity. We take up lots of labels. Sometimes we wear lots of hats. And you understand viscerally, aesthetically, materially, emotionally, what Republicans are about. Even if we don't have like a clear, exact, formalized elevator pitch on it. And it's why now, even though Donald Trump is old and dying to medical issues and to scandal, MAGA as a movement can kind of outlive him because there's a vibe there that people are picking up for. There's a sense of a brand promise that can be picked up and taken further. It's even starting to outlive Donald Trump, who's starting to say, no, don't turn on me. I'm MAGA. I'm the only thing that can define that. But we're starting to feel, on some deeper level, that's not true. It can be more. It's about this feeling. This promise of rage and revenge, and we're the true real Americans and you are not. And therefore, it is our moral peak obligation to get rid of an attack and get revenge on and destroy all of our enemies, all of them not us. It doesn't even need saying. It doesn't need any speech about it. But it is communicated, and it is heard, and it is acted upon to the physical harm of everyone else. And I just think Democrats should have something else. I'm going to end my stream for now, but I will stream on future days. And we're going to take this further. Like, we've looked at what the Democrats are, now it's not working. In the future, I'd like to talk to people about who they voted for or why, even like in text chat, what you think about Democrats, what you think about Republicans, as a party or as politicians, which ones you liked, who you voted for, who you didn't like, and who you didn't vote for, and why you don't like those parties, and why, what that means, and see what's coming through. And then based on that, like, user research, we're going to take a look at some other companies too, and like what represents those values we see. There are other ways and other voices in our society that you've seen communicating this is affordable. Like Walmart. Not a politician, but a brand. And I think if instead of like diving into deep, dusty old books on like leftist theory and telling everyone to get good and just know more about Democrats or about economics, we can just present something where people are at and play on the heuristics they already have and communicate these ideas better. So yeah, we're going to do some market research in the future days, and we're going to pick ideas of what are we actually going for and what do we want to represent, and then find the best ways to represent them. And I want to like make some, mock up ads by the end of this and see if we can find something that resonates more. And I think if you are running as a Democrat, you should be able to put up consistent like branding behind yourself, like, oh, a Democrat's here, or this like food bank volunteer operation is like a Democrat associated thing, and that should mean something for people. I want to see a logo, and then you know what that means. In the same way you see like a red and white stripy pole, oh, I can get my haircut here. And it should start to carry some emotion and a feeling. So yeah, that's gonna be like my project this week, unless there's any big breaking news. And I think it's kind of fun. Yeah, I don't frankly trust the establishment as is to take this vague concept of affordability and run that against Republicans who are willing to lie, and to really present a clear image by comparison. But a clear image can be presented, and we're gonna build one. So